Chapter 1. When you need help, really, desperately need help, you'll go to whatever lengths it takes to find it. And for me, that means going to Rula. We thought we'd already hit rock bottom when we moved into the slums, but things got worse when Father died 6 months ago. And I understood quickly that the only way Kay and I were going to survive was by making friends. Not the curl up together and talk about men you like as you braid one another's hair kind. Not ones who try to pick you up on a low day or convince you that things aren't as bad as they seem. No, I'm talking about powerful friends. The type of friends who can stop you from coming home to find your place ransacked. The type who can make sure you make it home alive in the first place. The type who will get you a dagger when you need it. And, if need be the one who stabs it in someone's back for you, too. That's the type of friend Rula is. Though maybe friend is the wrong word. You can't be friends with Rula, the same way you can't make friends with a snake or an unbonded direwolf. They all have that same unpredictable ruthlessness simmering just beneath the surface. But it's not like I had a choice. For Kay, I'd become best friends with a damned Isin and their forbidden ice magic. Whatever it takes to survive. As I prepare to leave the house, my pockets are lined with 6 vials. Tonics I've brewed using recipes from my mother's precious notebook. Tonics Rula will sell for the highest price she can. Maybe, if she gets enough, I'll even get a coin or two. But what I actually get from Rula is something more valuable. Protection. For me, and more importantly, for Kay. Don't go outside until I get back, I tell my little sister as I head out through our meager scrap of a door. I'll try to pick up some food for us if I can. Kay looks longingly after me. Why don't I come to the market with you? She suggests lightly, like she hasn't asked it every day of late. See if I can get some work. I saw Talia and Ellen the other day. Maybe I could ask them to help me find something. No. I snap the word before softening my tone. No, you don't need to do that. I can make enough for both of us. But you're not, Rose, she sighs. You didn't eat anything last night. I saw. You fed me, but you went to bed hungry. Again. Fuck. I've been trying to hide from her how tough it's been these last few months. Despite brewing every moment I get with the ingredients I can find, trying to create enough that Rula will give me coin or build up a surplus I can sell, quietly, myself. The last thing I need is my sister feeling guilty. None of this is her fault. It's neither of our faults. We're here, living in squalor, stripped of magic, wealth, and title, all because of one lying piece of shit, the prince. King Corvain's only heir, Prince Kyor. He's the one who lied about what happened the night the queen died, blaming her death on the healer attending her in childbirth. Our mother. He's the reason our magic was ripped from us and that my younger brother's life was taken as forfeit. A son for a son, the king demanded. I know the prince lied because I was there. My mother tried everything to help the queen, tried to use all the healing powers at her disposal to save her. But sometimes, even magic isn't enough. We're a little short on coin, and I wasn't hungry anyway, I say casually to Kay, patting my coat pocket where the vials rest. I'm taking the tonics to Rula now. We'll get some money and we'll be fine. But for how long, Rose? I'm old enough now to work. I can help. I move back into the room and kiss her lightly on the top of her head. You are helping, Kay. Just by being you, you're helping. You lift my spirits, and you help with the potions. Now make sure those don't boil over for me. I gesture to the pan that's bubbling away on the single gas ring. Another tonic that would work 100 times better if I still had magic. The properties of the plants and herbs mean that it'll do something, though. And for those of us living in the squalid desperation of the slums, where every day is a struggle to survive, anything is better than nothing. You don't need to ask the girls about work, I insist. I've told you. I'll find something for you, and I will. Leave it to me. I smile reassuringly as I leave, but Kay still looks dubious. Rightly so. I'm lying through my teeth. If Rula doesn't come up with some coin today, I'm going to have to think of some alternatives. Fast. Outside, the stench of the slums is muted by the cold and less pungent than it is inside the little ramshackle space we call home. The summer months are the worst for it, when the heat turns every narrow street sour. But warmer weather never lingers long in Rohelm. We're lucky if we get a couple of weeks. It's a double-edged sword. The reduced stench is a blessing, but the cold crushes your bones and freezes the water solid. And while the homes inside the inner rings of the city are blessed with heating, even some of those in the 5th and 6th rings aren't so fortunate. The source of today's particularly malodorous scent becomes apparent a few feet later when I pass a carriage filled with kitchen waste. From the aroma emanating from it, and the scraps of half-masticated food, bones bitten bare, it probably came all the way from the Highhold. A crowd has gathered around it, looking for anything edible. There was a time I wouldn't have believed people would go to such lengths to find something to eat, especially when what's on offer is half-rotten and putrid already. Now, I'm annoyed I didn't get here first. Anything decent will be long gone by now, so I'll have to rely on Rula's generosity. Clutching my threadbare coat close, I elbow my way past the starving crowd. I long for my fur, sold long ago for coin. It was so soft, so warm, and so far back in my memory now that I'm not even sure I can accurately remember what it felt like. Stifling a sigh, I keep a hand over the coat's pocket, as the last thing I want is to drop any of the vials. Thankfully, I don't worry about being pickpocketed the way I frequently was when we first arrived here. We're under Rula's protection now, and only a fool would mess with her. Speaking of fools, as if I have summoned him with my thoughts, Tella pushes off a wall to snag me by my sleeve.
Hey there, pretty flower.
He greets me, and my spine crawls. I grit my teeth. One of Rula's enforcers, I should be safe from him, safe due to him. But there is nothing safe about Tella. I've seen the glint in his eye as he looks at me. Worse, I've seen it when he looks at Kay. Tella, I say stiffly, I'm on my way to Rula.
Are you now?
He replies carelessly as he reaches out to stroke my unnaturally white blonde hair. It was once deep brunette, but when the priestess stripped me of my magic, the color fled from every strand. It was the same for Kay and my parents. Now, all and sundry can see and know my shame, just from the shade of hair flowing down my back. Stripped. Outcast. Words of others who have suffered the same fate and wear the same shame-colored shade has reached us in the slums, but I've personally yet to see another marked like me.
Hard to believe you were once a lady, isn't it, Cultivaris?
Tella's voice lingers on the vowels of my surname, and he twines dirty fingers round the strands I wish I'd braided this morning. My heart hammers as my fists clench at my side, but I keep the fury within. Behind him, I can see Frel and Jack, which means if I slam my knee into Tella's groin the way I long to, they'll be on me in a heartbeat. And it's not like I have a weapon. My strength has faded due to a lack of food and nutrients, and it's been a long time since I practiced fighting. I regret it now. Regret not keeping up with the training. I can still throw a dagger straight, but I had to sell my last throwing knife 6 weeks ago when the hunger got too much. Which means there are only 2 things I can do. Grit my teeth and let Tella keep playing with my hair. Better me than Kay.
When are you going to let me come calling, Rose?
He asks with a wink that makes my stomach turn. I'm too busy, I say as mildly as I can manage. I wish to hell I hadn't sold that blade. It's foolish to have no defense. Rula has me brewing potions every moment of the day. His hand trails down my hair to stroke my neck lightly.
You better find time, Rose, or I'll be making it for you. You and your little sister.
Bile burns my throat, but somehow I fight against every urge and manage to conjure up a false smile. Soon, I tell him. Soon. My mind whirs in panic. Tella has officially shifted from annoyance to threat, and specifically a threat to Kay. And that means he has to be eliminated. It's time to begin brewing a potion that doesn't heal, but harms. in case he does come knocking. He's arrogant and careless, so I know he would take a drink from me without thinking twice. And it would be the last thing he does. Because when he's passed out, I could smother him, choke him, something. His would be the first life I'd ever take, but it would be worth it. Anything for Kay.
We're late.
Jack grunts, eyes flicking over me with the tiniest hint of compassion. He's one of the few good ones, but I'm careful to keep the gratitude out of my eyes, or Tella will take issue with us both. Tella's eyes flick to the shadow cast by the monolith stone at the heart of the highhold. He grimaces, seeing Jack's right.
Until next time, little flower.
He blows me a kiss and winks yet again as I suppress a shudder. Finally alone, I pick up my pace until the black market finally comes into view. The market is not sanctioned by the king, yet I have no doubt a tithe is paid to him, or else his maroon-draped knights and their bonded direwolves would be here in an instant, ripping us all into bloody shreds. It is certainly not compassion that stays the king's hand. Though perhaps it's simply that, as far as he's concerned, the city of Rohelm ends at the 6th ring. Does he consider the people who exist beyond the concentric walls to be as repugnant as the Tauralian or the Isin? I push my way through the crowds, tuning out the usual curses at King Corvain and the back-and-forth pleas of desperate bartering. Our lives here are a refrain of pleas with other Marathgians, and with the gods and goddesses, though I have long since ceased wondering if they hear us here. They don't. No one does. As I squeeze my way past a woman grappling to keep her 3 children in tow, someone grabs my arm. I swing around, ready to knock the person off, only to be struck with the stench of alcohol, which spills from every pore of the haggard man's frame. Anger surges through me that he is this drunk this early in the day. It reminds me of Father, forever drinking away what little coin we managed to scrape together, drinking us into desperation and destitution.
There will be a Redderheld soon.
The man slurs.
1 a century. Edda will take me. Wait and see. I'll show that fucking Corvain.
He all but falls into me as he stumbles, and I suppress a snort of pure derision. He may be right about a Redderheld coming, but only nobles and knights may enter, and this man is neither of those. Edda's great gifting is as far from him as a full stomach is for me. Sure, I say, patting his shoulder and pushing him gently to sit on a crate where he continues mumbling about the gods and his impending, albeit delusional, triumph as I make my way to Rula's stall. At a glance, the racketeer looks like a motherly matron with her rounded figure and flushed cheeks. But her appearance alone should be warning enough. Only the unscrupulous are fat here. And with the wealth she has extorted and squirreled away, she could easily afford a place in the inner rings. But she chooses to remain here, queen of the desperate. She would rather be someone here than a no one within the rings. As I approach, Rula is talking to a young couple standing in front of her stall, which on the surface appears to be selling wooden utensils. But no one goes to Rula for what's on display. No. It's what's hidden under the fabric that matters. That's where my tonics will go. I drop into line at the back of the queue, although it only takes a moment before she looks in my direction and catches my eye. She jerks her head, summoning me forward. Unease causes me to falter. She usually makes me wait, keen to indulge in any opportunity to exercise her power. Come back later, she says bluntly to the couple. But I said later, she repeats. Her words are clipped, and there's a glint in her eyes that says if they don't obey, she'll make sure they're sorry. Muttering, the pair slink off, leaving me space to step forward. I've got 6 for today, I tell her. And they're good. Potent stuff. I refined my mother's recipe a bit to balance out the lack of magic. Don't care how it works, as long as it does, she grunts. It does, I say, pulling them from my pockets. But I don't pass them to her straight away. I know you're selling the vials for more than when we started, I say, my throat dry. I force myself to continue. And they're better now than they were back then. She arches an eyebrow. And your point is? You're making more money off my tonics now, I state simply, so I should be getting more too.
I'm sorry. Were you under the impression that the world was fair, kid?
I bristle at the term. I'm 19, not 9. She continues, gesturing between the two of us.
That's not how this works.
I know. But you said when we first arrived that you would try to find something for Kay. Suitable work. Despite my best tutelage, Kay's potion making is worse than hopeless, and like everyone in this life, her options remain limited.
Kay,
Rula repeats blankly. Acacia, my sister.
Right. She's pretty. Very pretty.
Her lips curl and I know what she's thinking. Not that, I say firmly, refusing to sell my sister to fill my stomach. Look, she's at the age where she needs to have something to do. And I know you're the person who can sort something like that. Something suitable for a former lady. You have power, connections. A little flattery never hurts. She tries to shrug indifferently, but I see the glimmer of satisfaction in her eyes. How about we keep the price the same, and you charge whatever you like, but you find Kay something to do for work?
And if I don't?
She says, eyes calculating. I shrug casually, even though my heart rate is spiking. I've had offers from other people who can provide. I choose my next word carefully, enough to concern but not anger her, I hope. Protection.
Is that right?
She says, her jaw clenching.
And you'd do that, would you? Work with one of my competitors? After I've so graciously taken you under my wing?
No, I say honestly. I don't want to do that. Of course I don't, I tell her. You've been good to me. I know that, Rula, I do. But I have to think of Kay. She's my sister. She presses her lips together, and my body tenses. I'm not sure what magic Rula has, but even weak magic is better than the nothing I've got. As I wait for her reply, a dark gleam sparks in Rula's eyes, and I know whatever deal she's about to suggest is going to sting. A lesson for challenging her, even a little.
Okay, Rose. How about a little proposal? I need something. A plant.
Hope flickers within me. That's my area of expertise. And there was a time I likely could have got her anything she wanted, or even magically provided it myself. Mother's orangery back in the Highhold was almost as well stocked as the goddess's garden. Now I grow what I can, but it's not easy in these temperatures. What is it you need? I ask. And what job will you get for Kay?
I've heard of a job in the 5th ring. A nanny, a teacher, whatever. They want someone who is nicely spoken, gentle-like. Your Acacia would be perfect for it.
My body tenses as I wait for the catch, because there will be one. So, what's the plant? Her lips corkscrew into a smile, and it's twisted, threatening, and altogether creepy.
Well, that's the fun part.
Chapter 2. I stare dumbly at Rula. Hemlock? I repeat aloud. She wants me to steal hemlock? Rula nods.
Or another poison that works the same. Quick, untraceable, no chance of recovery. I don't want a well-meaning healer interceding.
I balk, shaking my head in disbelief. That's not the type of plant I just have on hand, I reply. Sure, I have plants growing at home that could cause harm, knock someone out or cause tummy aches and fevers, but nothing deadly. Surely you have connections you could trade with. Rula sniffs at my remark.
Time is of the essence. I'm sure they grow it in the goddess's garden. You'll just have to take a trip there tonight. Of course, if you're not the right person for the job.
She lets the unspoken threat linger. If I'm not the right person for the job, then she's not going to help Kay. Instead, my sister will be forced to take to the streets, selling her body for coin. I've been in the goddess's garden before, and I certainly know herbs well.
The garden isn't even that heavily guarded. After all, who would dare steal from the priestesses? Apparently me. That's who. And if it were any other herb, I wouldn't hesitate. But hemlock? Poison? And I don't need to ask how Rula intends to use it. She's a nefarious person asking for a nefarious plant. If I give it to her, someone will die. I swallow. But Kay won't. Kay will get a job, an income, a livelihood, sanity. Would I damn my soul for her? In a heartbeat. So stealing a couple of herbs from the goddess's garden? I can do that. Of course I can. Even hemlock. Still, Rula will only believe in the value of something if it's hard won. So I give the protest she's expecting. I don't know if I can do that. I say to her, not that quickly, not without preparation. You can, or Kay doesn't get that job. I continue my protestations. It would mean stealing from Edda, the goddess of life. Rula shrugs. Exactly. She doesn't need it. Hemlock is a herb for mortadem. She cackles a little, amused by her own joke. What Rula doesn't know is that my mother was raised by one of the priestesses of Edda. Dina is practically a grandmother to us, and there have been several times since my father died that I don't think we'd have survived without her perfectly timed visits, which always included a basket of food. I consider, just for a moment, asking Dina outright for the plant, but immediately dismiss the notion. She'd say no, I know she would. Dina would have no part in giving me a poison that kills quickly without a trace. Who do you want to use it on? I ask. Because even with Kay at the heart of my thoughts, it matters. It matters who Rula will kill. Some people have wronged me. Badly, she says finally. I have enemies. People who think that my falling down would allow them to rise. But the hemlock isn't for my competitors. She offers me a humorless smile that fades almost immediately. There were 3 girls, not much older than Kay. They lost their lives to this bastard. Which 3 girls? I ask, a churning sense of dread filling me. 3 of my best. Stella, Bryony, and Talia. A lump fills my throat. Talia. Kay's only got a handful of friends in the slums, and Talia was one of them. To lose a friend? And to lose them like that? It'll break her. My resolve steels. The last thing she needs is to find out the grim truth behind Talia's death. I'll have to think of something else to tell her. Why not go to the guards? I ask, though I know the answer before the words have finished leaving my lips. He's a powerful man. The guards will do nothing, and I want him dead, she says fiercely, eyes cold as a steel dagger. Dead at my hands. She's right. The guards will do nothing. They give even less of a shit about us than the king does, if that's possible. The only time they ever seem to remember that the slums exist is when they come out here with some new order or rules we have to follow, or when we try to move our way through to the inner rings. Then they notice us, which I realize is another issue. Edda's temple is in Rohelm's 3rd ring, meaning I would have to make my way through 3 checkpoints. Maybe I could get into the 5th and 4th rings easily enough, but the 3rd? That would require planning. And Rula isn't giving me any time. Why tonight? I ask. I need time to prepare, to plan. He's from Galrek, and he travels back tomorrow. It's now or never. And it must not be never, Rose, or I'll see your sister on her back, she threatens, only for her expression to soften just a little, just around the eyes. My girls did nothing wrong, Rula says. He killed them merely because he could, plucked them from the slums because they were expendable and snuffed them out like they were nothing. Well, they're not nothing. Not to me. They were my girls, and they were under my protection. I failed them, and I'll see the life leave his eyes for it, personally. Her gaze has drifted away from me, and when it meets mine again, she grimaces. I can't fight him. He's too big, and he's got good magic. What kind? Fire wielder. Not as good as your fancy folk up at the high hold, but strong enough to have me burning before I can get a knife into him. But he can never resist a drink. So, a drink with a hint of hemlock? Well, that would do the trick nicely. A murderer. Can I be partly responsible for the death of such a man? If it will save the lives of more innocent girls, then I know my answer. Still, I need the agreement to be ironclad. If I do this, if I get you the hemlock or some other poison, Kay gets the job? She nods. It's as good as done. Deal, I reply, handing her the tonics. I'll give you double payment for these vials, she says, just so I know we're good. So I get the poison for her more like, but I take the money. Remember, it has to be tonight. I nod. It's not yet mid-morning, and I need to wait for the full cover of darkness, which doesn't leave much, if any, room for mistakes. I'll get it to you before midnight, I promise before I walk away, slipping into the crowd, my mind whirring as I weave back through the stalls. Stealing poison from the priestesses will be a new low, but the rewards will be worth it. A job for Kay. And Rula will no doubt owe me too, though she didn't specifically say as much. Still, maybe she'll owe me just enough to keep Tella off my back. The extra money from the vials was definitely an unexpected bonus. It's enough for me to buy some flour and milk. But rather than taking my unexpected spoils home to eat, I first head out beyond the slums. Outside the ramshackle houses, propped at the edge of the 6th ring of Rohelm, are a few sparse groves of spruce trees. And for those brave enough and dumb enough to risk a climb, fresh eggs. Disappointment rises as I climb not 1 but 3 trees, only to find each nest is already empty. But I'm not willing to give up without a fight, and it's not like I've anywhere else to be, not until nightfall anyway. With my determination steeled, I continue deeper into the grove, and my pulse spikes as I spot another nest. It's hard to tell from down here, but something makes me think it's full, seriously full. My hope reignites, and I once again set the milk and flour down, then start to climb, hauling myself up, scrambling and finding purchase on even the smallest holds. Climbing sets free a part of my soul that the high hold didn't manage to strip, my body inching further and further away from the life to which I am currently tethered, allowing me to lose myself in the view that stretches around me. I swing upwards, higher and higher. Several of the thinning branches bow, but they don't break under my meager weight, an upside to being painfully thin. Long gone are the days of muscles and strength, and yet as an unfamiliar ache pulls at my cheeks, I realize I'm smiling. I've undoubtedly lost some of my fighting skills, and I'm sure that if I were to spar again, my footwork would be worse than when I was 9 years old. But I'm lean and light, and the perfect composition for tasks like this. In this, at least, I can excel. When I pull myself level with the nest, I beam. Not just 1 egg or 2, but a whole cluster. 7. 7! Sorry, bird, I say as I take them one by one and slip them into the pockets where the vials were resting earlier. 7 eggs! That's almost the most I've ever found in one go. It won't just be pancakes. It'll be boiled eggs, too. My stomach roars at the thought of it, of being full. I wonder, even though I know it's a fantasy, if I could possibly bake a cake. The last time I had something sweet, Mother was still alive and we were still living in the 5th ring. We had no magic, but we had each other. Well, as much as Father remained after Florian's death. In the beginning, Father's drinking was to blunt the pain. But in the end, he had to drink to survive. He checked out of our lives long before his death, and it was hard to now remember the man he was before our ruination. Shaking myself back into the moment, I continue back down to the ground and force myself to think of happier things. Of pancakes. I won't let the past steal today's wins from me. With my new haul, I move even more carefully than I did when I had the vials in my pockets. Even a slight jostle could break siskin eggs, so I slow my steps, trying to weave carefully through the press of unwashed bodies. It almost works. I'm in the alley that leads home when a small child runs smack into me. "Sorry," she says wide-eyed. Simultaneously, I hear the crack in my pocket and feel the sudden dampness that seeps through to my skin. "Fuck," I mutter to myself, only to see that the child is still there. She is looking up at me, terror on her face, like I'm going to do more than just swear at her. "It's fine," I say as I sigh. "Don't worry." She flashes me a relieved smile before darting towards the market. My heart sinks, and not just because of the lost eggs, though I don't want to think of how many she broke. She was so emaciated that it was impossible to say how old the girl was. Maybe 6, 7? I bet all she's ever known is this life, this poverty, this starvation. Though maybe that's easier than knowing there's a whole different world out there where people have so much food they don't even bother finishing what's on their plates. "Guess what?" I say as I open the piece of metal that's our door and then slide it back into place once I'm inside. Kay jumps up from where she's sitting by the fire. I've told her a couple of times that we really shouldn't waste decent firewood until it's cold enough that our breath fogs. And I can't decide whether she keeps forgetting or just doesn't care about the risk of inhaling wood smoke all day. But I guess it's not as bad as dying from the cold. "What, did Rula find me a job?" she asks, her eyes wide with anticipation. I open my mouth, momentarily considering whether I should tell her that maybe there's a chance she'll have a job by the end of the week. But I don't want to get her hopes up. Hope's almost as big a killer as cold out here. It rots the mind the way the damp rots the wood of our bed. "She's looking into it," I tell her, feeling that's a good compromise. After all, I'm not going to tell her the whole truth. She can't know about the hemlock, not ever. Kay would never be on board with me breaking into the goddess's garden, let alone being complicit in a murder. The less she knows, the better. "I got eggs," I say triumphantly, reaching into my pocket. My hand finds the sticky, broken shell first, and Kay's face falls in disappointment, though she makes a poor attempt to hide it. "Don't worry, that's not it," I reassure her hastily. "I got others. In fact," I pull out the first one with a sense of relief. By the third one, she's grinning, and by the fourth, her hand is covering her mouth in shock. I reach back into my pocket, ready to retrieve the last 2, but feel only one. "Everything okay?" she asks. I dig deeper. The lining of this coat has so many holes it could easily have fallen through. But there's nothing. Just the one egg. The little kid, I realize. Of course, running into me wasn't an accident. And that was why she looked so scared. She thought I'd figured out what she'd done. Realized that she'd stolen from me. A flicker of anger flares to life only to fade almost instantly. The little girl didn't steal it for fun. She did it because she was starving. Because she needed to eat. I get that. And it's not like 5 eggs isn't a decent haul anyway. "I can do an omelet," Kay says, excited. "We could use some herbs and spices and maybe even... Oh." Her face falls a little, and I'd do anything to bring her smile back. "What is it?" I ask. "I was just thinking that if we had some flour and some milk, we'd be able to make some pancakes." She tries to force a smile. "Flour and milk like this, you mean?" I grin, pulling the bottles out of my coat. Before I can even register what's happened, she's jumped up and wrapped her arms around me so tightly I can barely breathe. Pancakes. I can hardly believe this boon we've been gifted. I murmur my thanks to the goddess Edda. This day is looking up, even if it is going to end with perfidy and poison. Chapter 3. By the time we're done cooking and eating, we've used 2 of the eggs and all the milk and flour. We probably should have saved some. Eked it out to last as long as possible. But I can't find it in me to regret it. For the first time in ages, my belly is full. Painfully so. And from the way Kay is sitting with her hands resting on her stomach, she feels the same. "That was so good," she says, a grin spreading across her face. "I could eat like that every day." Sadness pangs within me. Back in the Highhold, we would have done. We would have eaten like that and more. Meat, fruit. I'm pretty sure the only reason we're still as healthy as we are is because of the tonic we take. One of my mother's own creations. One she insisted we take every day. Even when she was sick, she still brewed it, until I took over the role, ensuring Kay and I both took it. Thankfully, the ingredients flourish in colder climates, and are currently growing well in small pots that litter our floor. I'm not sure my version is as potent as the one Mother used to make. I certainly can't imbue it with magic the way she could back when we lived in the Highhold. But it's not like Kay or I have ever got properly sick, so I guess it works. Either way, I keep on making it. One last connection to Mother and all that came before. I pick up the plates and move over to the basin of ice water, ready to clean them. It's so cold that even though I broke up the ice that morning, it's back again. We both go still when there's a knock on the makeshift door. Expecting someone? I ask Kay. Anxiety stirring in my gut as I think of Tella's less than subtle comments earlier. She shakes her head. I did say I'd go to Evelina's this afternoon. I nod, but we both know our neighbors Coram and Evelina never knock on us. My body stiffens. When we first arrived, we suffered countless break-ins. Some were people seeing what the Queen Killer's family had that was worth stealing. But not all. The person who previously considered this patch of squalor their own had racked up a string of enemies, with debts and broken promises littered all through the slums. People wanted payment, and they didn't think twice about breaking down our door to try to get it. It was after one particularly scary invasion that I went to Rula, cap in hand, to ask for protection. Luckily, Kay had been with Evelina at the time. Since we paid for protection, we haven't had a single issue. Cynically, I wonder how many of the people who came banging were Rula's people in the first place. It was certainly one way to drum up business. Reaching for the pan I was about to clean, I edged towards the entrance. "Who is it?" I call out. "You should know I'm armed."
That sounds like it could be fun.
A familiar voice calls back. Relief floods through me as I open the door. A gleaming smile grins down at me.
You know it's not great manners to threaten to attack everyone who knocks on your door, Rosie. I could take offense.
With a shake of my head, I step back and give my closest friend room to enter. "Reuben, what are you doing here?" Normally, when we see each other, it's under the cover of darkness and far from Kay's innocent eyes.
Just came to offer my neighborly services.
His brown eyes twinkle.
See if anyone could do with a warming hug.
There's a hint of mischief glittering in his expression. But before I can reply, Kay leaps forward. "Yes, please. I've been freezing all day. It's a miracle my hands haven't turned blue." With a quick smile for me, Reuben turns to Kay and opens his arms.
Come on in,
He says.
How toasty do you want me? Comfortably warm or hot enough to feel the sweat on your spine?
"Hot," Kay answers immediately. But I cut in. "Just comfortably warm is fine." I tell him firmly. "You know how much worse it is if you start sweating," I add to Kay. "You'll be shivering the minute he leaves." Her lips pout, but she doesn't object, mainly because she knows I'm right. Instead, she lets Reuben wrap her up in his arms, and I watch her color rise. While fire wielders are two a penny in the Highhold, the same can't be said out here in the slums. Anyone with magic strong enough to be of use tends to move into the inner rings, while those with limited powers, or in our case none at all, seem to end up stuck here. Reuben's mother, Nolene, however, is one of the few who can actually make a flame. It's not massive, more like a match's light, but it's handy. Reuben's powers don't produce a flame, but he can heat his body up to well above normal temperature. I'm pretty sure people would pay a fair price for that, even in some of the inner rings where they have jobs and actual brick walls. But that's not Reuben's style. He offers his warmth to others because he wants to help, not to make money. As I watch my sister's body relax into Reuben's large frame, I shift away, only for him to catch my eye.
And you, Rosie?
He asks, and we both know he's asking about more than a hug. I bite my lip. Stress is riding me, and thoughts of getting caught in the goddess's garden are buffeted by images of what will happen to Kay if I don't go. Anxiety is a lead weight in my gut. so maybe a tumble, purely for stress relief purposes, wouldn't be a bad idea. If you've got time, I reply, involuntarily licking my lips. He follows the movement of my tongue with avid interest.
You know I've always got time for you.
He grins. A minute later, he and Kay break apart. Her cheeks are flushed with warmth, and she stares at her fingers in pure pleasure as she wiggles them, almost in disbelief.
Better?
Reuben asks. You have no idea. Kay lets out a happy hum.
Glad to be of service.
Reuben's eyes move to mine, but rather than speak, his lips just twitch slightly, and an unexpected nervousness fills me. Actually, before you warm up Rose, I need to get out of here, Kay blurts. I said I'd pop around to see Evelina, Kay explains for Reuben's benefit. She's not been feeling great. I'm sure it's nothing, but you know how she likes to chat with me. How late are you going to be out? I ask casually. She shrugs. I'm not sure, but you could always cook Reuben something. Maybe make an omelet to thank him for our warm hugs. After all, we have plenty. Plenty is a stretch, but I get what she's saying. It would be wrong to take advantage of his good nature when we're in a position to give back, as we are today. He never charges for his warmth, but truly he should. Okay, I tell her. Then I guess I'll see you later. Rather than move to the door, she catches my eye. Can you just help me outside for a second? With the door? She says. I can close it from in here, I reply, confused. Yes, no, I know. She grabs my hand. Can you just come out with me, please, for 1 second? I do as she asks, throwing Reuben a secret look of exasperation as I go. Bye, Rue, Kay says, practically dragging me out so forcefully that my feet clatter against the pan. At least I know she's not as weak as I sometimes worry. What is it? I say when we're outside. Why are you being weird? He likes you, she replies with a doe-eyed sigh. Reuben likes you. I offer her the most incredulous look I can. Yes, he does. He's my friend. Generally speaking, it's important that you like your friends. If that's not the case, then you're probably doing something wrong. With a long sigh, she shakes her head. I don't mean like that. I mean likes you. As in he could be your boyfriend. Kay. No, I know what you're going to say, that you don't want anything, that you're fine on your own, that you have enough to worry about. But he's sweet, and he's kind, warm, and he's sexy. She says this last bit like I haven't noticed. But with his big brown eyes and cute smile, Reuben has a comforting attractiveness about him. Please just think about it. I roll my eyes, stifling a grin. Reuben and I are just friends, Kay. That's it. But you could be more, she presses. You would be such a cute couple, and think, you'd never be cold again. I can't date a guy just so I'm not cold. Of course not. You could date him because he's sweet and kind and funny and... Are you going to see Evelina or not? I interrupt her. Because if you actually like Reuben, then standing out here wasting all the magic he just used on you is hardly a great way of showing it. She sniffs slightly, but she knows I'm right. Just think about it. She has no idea how much I've thought about it, and for that I'm grateful. See you later, Kay. As she finally relents and moves down the alley towards Evelina's, I head back into the house.
Everything okay?
Reuben says, sidling up beside me as I close the door, his warmth already easing the tension in my muscles. All good. Just Kay trying to convince me we'd be good together as a couple. He arches an eyebrow.
Is that right? And what did you say?
That we're friends, that we work well as friends, and that's all we'll ever be.
Right,
he says. A fleeting look of disappointment dances across his face before he takes a step closer, a roguish grin lighting up his handsome features instead.
Friends who have a lot of fun, right?
Right, I reply, a matching smile stretching my mouth an instant before his lips land on mine. Chapter 4. We know each other well enough to know the contours of our bodies, to know what the other needs, what we both need. I trust that Reuben's going to keep this little tryst of ours to himself, and he trusts that I won't push for more. It's perfect. As my hand works on the fly of his trousers, it's hard not to notice just how hard he already is. Looking forward to this, I purr.
You have no idea.
He groans. I've got a pretty good idea, I say, pulling his trousers down. I moan a little as his hard, thick cock springs free. It's hard to remember exactly how we fell into this situation. Friends with benefits. Some kind of moonshine was probably involved. But it's been like this for months now. Several glorious months.
Gods, I want to taste you.
Reuben groans as he slides his fingers into my underwear and lets out a wavering gasp.
You're so wet for me, Rosie.
He pushes me lightly so that I drop onto the bed, and I shuffle out of my underwear and open my legs. A sigh billows from his lungs as he draws his fingers slowly up my thigh, then grazes my core with his fingertips.
Fucking hell. I could look at you like this for hours.
He says. Well, we don't have hours, I remind him. Kay won't be out long. We don't have time for much foreplay. He gives me a grin.
You're right. It may need to be quick, but I can still make you feel good.
You always make me feel good, I admit as he snakes down my body. A second later, his head disappears between my legs, and I fight the urge to moan aloud. Walls in the slums aren't exactly thick, and it's easy to hear Evelina or Coram coughing next door. I bite down on my bottom lip, trying to contain the wild feeling that ebbs through me. His tongue is so damned good. Not just warm, but deliciously hot. And as he laps at my sensitive bundle of nerves, jolts of pure pleasure are sent spiking through me. I clamp a hand over my mouth, stifling the moans that want to whimper out.
You can let go, you know.
Reuben says, moving his mouth momentarily away from me and replacing it with his skilled fingers, which move in perfect circles over my clit, just the way I like before plunging deep into me. More, I whisper, but he shifts his head back between my legs. I grab a fistful of his hair and pull him up. We don't have time for more of that, I tell him. You need to be inside me, now.
Wow. Romance really isn't your thing, is it, Rosie?
But he's already obeying, lining his hips up with mine. Did you come here for romance, or to come inside me? His eyes glitter.
I think we both know the answer to that, don't we?
Reuben reaches forward, untying my shirt so he has access to my breasts, then pulls off his own shirt, causing my muscles to clench and a new wave of heat and wetness to flood me. His body is impressive. Skinny, yes, yet still somehow filled with hard-corded muscle. There's not an inch of fat on him, but he has inches aplenty in other places. I can't resist reaching out a hand and wrapping it around his impressive cock. I lick my lips at the feel of him. There's something about the quantity of pre-cum that drops from the tip that makes me desperate to taste it. Before he can move over me completely, I lean forward and run my tongue over the head of his cock. His entire body shudders.
Gods, Rose.
He murmurs, his eyes closed as his shoulders shift back. And for a minute I consider taking it all in my mouth, letting him fill my throat. It wouldn't be the first time I've done so, but I don't know how much time we've got now, and the urge to feel him stretching me is overwhelming, so I lean back, beckoning him to follow. The moment his body comes flush with mine, I'm flooded by the unnatural heat of him. His warmth is likely part of the reason this feels quite so good. He makes me forget about the hard wooden bed we're lying on. All I can feel is him.
You okay?
He asks softly, gazing into my eyes. I will be, I admit. Now get inside me and stop teasing. A second later, he's stretching my opening, gently, slowly. I want neither right now. You don't have to be gentle with me, I tell him.
No?
No, not now. Just make me come. Hard. Make me forget what insanity I'm planning in just a few short hours. Insanity I may not come back from. He rocks his hips into me, still a shade too slow for my liking. More, I gasp. He obeys, and his lips scatter kisses across my breasts, but that's not the part of my body that I focus on. Now, my mind is entirely absorbed by the feel of him pushing deeper and deeper into me. It's so much, maybe even too much, but I don't care.
Right now, feeling him filling me like this makes me forget everything else, and that's what I need. It doesn't take us long before we find our rhythm, my hips rocking into his thrusts as the orgasm builds within me.
Rose, you have no idea how much I love doing this.
He whispers, eyes locked on mine. I'm sure you say that to all the girls. I manage, my words coming out staggered between broken breaths as I grin at him. Yet his face remains completely serious.
Rose, there are no...
Oh, hell, he's not changing the rules, is he? No feelings, just fun. I want to go on top, I interrupt, rolling him over. I don't want to hear what he's going to say in case it ruins the very good thing we have going. But also, every second that he's here, there's a chance of Kay walking in, and that will end in a birds and bees conversation that I do not want to give yet. Instead, I plant my lips momentarily against his before sliding down his length. There's no denying that Reuben makes me seriously wet, but even so, with the size of him, it makes me gasp. As I sit back onto him, I move my hand down to my clit. No reason I can't get pleasure from every angle after all. But as my fingers begin to move over my swollen mound, he gently pushes them aside.
Hey, that's my job,
He says.
Don't take that away from me.
And what about me? I reply, grinding up and down against his length. His voice is gravelly and low.
Trust me, you are doing everything you need to.
I let my hand fall away and close my eyes, angling my hips up to get the best level of friction, letting his clever fingers take over the dance over my clit. He's a master of multitasking, thank the gods. Somehow, he's got the perfect rhythm as he rocks in and out of me while keeping his fingers at just the right amount of pressure I need to make me come. And all while maintaining a near-perfect ambient temperature that he's somehow transferring to me despite the minimal contact points.
I want to hear you come,
He says quietly.
I'm close.
Then go first, I pant. I won't be far behind.
Not a chance in hell.
He growls before upping the pressure and speed. A gasp rattles from my lungs as my muscles clench with an unexpected surge, and as I glance down at Reuben, I find him grinning at me.
That's it. Come on, Rosie. Let me hear you come. I know you want to let go.
Losing myself in him isn't something I can do. Not here and not now. Maybe not ever. My trust is a hard-won thing these days, but I can enjoy him just enough all the same. Come. I lean down to whisper the word in his ear, repeating the instruction. Come for me, Reuben. I want to feel you. Fill me. I want to feel every drop of you soaking me as if you can't hold it in any longer. I know from past experience that talking to Reuben is one of the quickest ways to make him come. So I let the words trip from my tongue and watch his eyes darken further. Tension is rolling through him as he tries to control himself, to make me let go first. But it's not going to happen. Or at least I assume it's not, until his fingers shift ever so slightly, and a jolt of pleasure soars so strong that I gasp as my orgasm slams into me. Fuck! It's the surprise that gets me more than anything else. 1 second, I think I'm in complete control, and the next my muscles are spasming as my hands reach down and grab the bed sheets in an effort to stop me from screaming.
That's it, Rosie.
He whispers only a second before his whole body judders beneath me. It's enough to make my body erupt into a second wave that travels all the way up and down my spine. No longer content with gripping the sheets, I put my hand in my mouth and bite down hard. If he stopped, then maybe I'd be able to as well, but his orgasm continues, his head thrown back, looking more handsome in that moment than he ever has. His hips buck from the bed, pushing deeper into me until I'm filled with so many different heats, my vision starts to blur.
Fuck, Rosie,
He says when he finally drops back down. With my body feeling fully relaxed, I flop down beside him, only to shift closer when he curls his arms around me. Cuddling was never part of our arrangement, but only an idiot would push away from his freely offered warmth. And I'm no idiot.
What are you doing tonight?
He asks once he's caught his breath. Possibly being arrested for theft? Nothing, I lie. Why? You want to do this again? I rub a teasing hand along his softening cock. He barely has a refractory period at all,
He could probably go again in minutes. But later, at his place, we wouldn't need to be in a hurry for fear of Kay's return. If only I didn't have somewhere else to be, I'd take him up on the offer.
Actually,
He clears his throat a little.
I was thinking we could do something different.
I shift away. You know something else we can do for free that's more fun than that? I ask him with faux confusion. He laughs.
Well, when you put it like that, no. I was just wondering if you wanted to, hang out. That's all.
Hang out? I offer him a raised eyebrow.
There are a few of us getting together. Sal, Peter.
I wrinkle my nose. The minute Peter is mentioned, I'm out. The guy annoys me. But at least it's a relief to know that Reuben was thinking about me joining him in a social sense, and not thinking that this could ever possibly be more than it is. I don't want him catching feelings. Not now. What we have is fun, but I can't afford to have my attention divided. I promised Mother I'd look after Kay, and I will, no matter what it takes. I can't look after Kay, brew tonics for Rula, and find time for Reuben. Not in a forever sense. A tumble on a hard bed is all I can offer, and if he wants more, he'll have to go elsewhere. Tonight's not great for me, actually, I say, easing away a little more while wishing I could bottle his heat and take it with me.
You've got plans? Should I be jealous?
Wouldn't you like to know? I chuckle lightly. Although actually, I could do with a favor. He rolls over so that he's propped up on his elbow.
Of course. What do you need?
Chapter 5. What I need is an alibi. I thought Kay might actually squeal when I told her I was heading to Reuben's for the rest of the evening, even though I reiterated the just friends line countless times. I need to work out how to convince her that that's all we are. But there's no way I can do that and explain our current situation. Kay is still innocent enough to envision marriage to the man of her dreams. She wouldn't be able to fathom the possibility of having sex with someone just because it feels good. She'd expect moonlit strolls through the slums, planning out the future together, children, a home. That's what she wants. A happy ever after. And she deserves it. Me? I'm just grateful for every week we survive.
So, where are you going tonight?
Reuben asks again as I walk out with him, a bag slung on my back.
I know we never mentioned whether we were doing this with other people, and I'm not trying to say you can't do whatever you want. Of course you can. But,
I'm not fucking anyone else, Reuben, I tell him.
You're not?
A look of relief flashes on his face. I mean, if you could find someone who could keep me warm and supply me with constant food, then you might have competition. I wink. He shoves me from the side as he grins.
So damn cruel.
He laughs.
But seriously, what's the plan?
I let out a long sigh. Of all the people in the slums, Reuben is probably the one I trust the most. Or at least more than Rula, who's the entire reason I'm doing this. But I'm still not sure if I want to tell him the truth. But in the end, I decide someone should know, in case it all goes horribly wrong. He'll look after Kay for me. I'm sure of it. I'm heading to Edda's temple in the 3rd, I admit quietly, aware of the listening ears in the slum's shadows.
To pray?
He questions, a slight frown marring his forehead. To hope she answers my prayers, I say elusively. Thankfully, he doesn't press.
Well, I'll be your excuse whenever you need me.
Listen, if I don't come back... Alarm flares in his eyes.
Why wouldn't you come back, Rose?
It's complicated. I just need to know that if something does happen and I don't make it back, I need...
Me to look after Kay?
He finishes the sentence.
You don't need to ask. Of course. Always.
Thank you, I reply, trying to clear my throat of the lump that has lodged there. Also, Tella has been more persistent than usual. While I'm out tonight, can you just keep an eye on her? Without her knowing, obviously, since I'm supposed to be with you.
I can do that,
he says, but his jaw is clenched.
But what do you mean more persistent than usual?
Nothing I can't handle. I hope. Though from Reuben's expression, he doesn't believe me. Needing to break the tension wrapping around him, I reach up and peck him on the lips. Don't read into that, I say, trying to lighten the mood. He lets me.
Don't worry, I'm very kissable. I get it.
With an exaggerated roll of my eyes, I turn around. Casting one last look at him over my shoulder, I start my journey to the temple, and my first ever heist. Stealing is one low I haven't stooped to. Well, except from the birds. Everyone here needs everything they've got, and I won't take a damned thing out of someone else's hands. Not yet, anyway. My mind flashes to the little girl who stole the egg from me. Maybe I do have another level of desperation to drop to. Not a pleasant thought. I head into the 6th ring without difficulty. The setup of Rohelm is unlike any of the other cities in Marathka. 6 rings of increasing wealth surround the inner circle, the Highhold. That's where the palace is, the king's court. It also holds the barracks where the knights are trained, and, if they're lucky, deemed worthy enough of bonding with a direwolf. I used to dream of bonding with a wolf. I clung on to it well past the time I knew it was impossible. The Highhold was where I lived for years, where I believed I belonged. Until my mother was labeled the Queen Killer, and we were stripped of our magic and cast out. Of course, none of that loss compared to the agony of losing our infant brother, Florian. I still find myself dreaming of the palace far too often. Dreaming of returning to a home that's stocked with eggs, milk, flour, and every other type of food we could ever dream of. Where I don't have to rely on Reuben to stop me and my sister from freezing to death. I know getting back there is an impossibility. Not without a Retterheld. And even if the drunk fool was right, I'm not sure I could even enter, let alone survive it. The Retterheld's for nobles, and since being stripped, I'm not even sure if I count as one anymore. Such daydreams are pointless, and it probably causes more hurt than good to imagine a future that's so much better than my present. But then maybe that's the whole point. Maybe I like the pain of remembering what we've lost, because it drowns out the pain pressing in on us now. Gaining access to the 5th ring is easy, and the 4th ring is still largely hassle-free. There are only 2 bored knights here, and no direwolves. They're letting the crowd stream in and out without checks. Lazy, but I won't complain, as it works in my favor. The 4th ring and its occupants are still too poor for anyone to bother stealing much. That's the king's way of thinking anyway. When you're actually poor, you know there are even levels of nothingness. In my mind, the people in the 4th are rich. They have food, jobs, and shelter. Their homes may be hovels in comparison to those in the Highhold, but they're solid little structures, miles above the ramshackle lean-tos in the slums, and they're warm and dry. Yes, the 4th are richer than they know. Like Corvain, I once considered those living in the 4th ring dirt poor. No hot water, no fires fueled by magic to heat their homes. But the fact that they have water at all, not to mention proper fireplaces with chimneys that channel the gray smoke up into the clouds rather than being forced to allow it to fill their homes in exchange for the meager heat the fire provides, is a gift we in the slums long for. It's early evening and the stalls are still busy. People have finished their jobs for the day and are coming out to buy food, clothes, and whatever else they need. And as several pairs of eyes turn to me, I realize my mistake. I left the slums without a hood. My bright white hair, evidence that I've been stripped, is on full display. As such, it means I'm easily recognizable as likely to be part of the Queen Killer's family. I used to get the same looks in the slums, too. Hear the whispers rattling around me. I think it gave them a sick sense of satisfaction, seeing how far someone can fall. But I've been there for so long they don't even notice me anymore. I weave my way through the bustle of men and women, absorbing the scents of roasted nuts and meats that fill the air. And I wonder how I'm going to do this unseen. There's no way I'll make it to the 3rd like this, let alone into the temple itself. Looks like I'll have to start my planned thievery early. I turn my attention to the stalls to see if there's something small I can take that will cover my hair. But as I approach, every merchant's eyes are like a hawk on me. It's hardly a surprise. Even without my distinguishing hair color, I'm dressed like a slum rat. There's no chance of my slipping something off a table unseen. The moment I try, they'll call for the knights, or worse, just deal with me themselves. All Marathkians learn combat as soon as they can walk. Even the slum kids learn to kick, punch, and scrap. They don't learn all the forms like I once did. They don't swing axes or throw knives. But they all know how to stab.
If I try to steal from one of these merchants, I'll never make it to the goddess's garden. I recede from the stalls but don't give up. Rather than heading to the next gate and aiming straight for the third ring, I make a detour. I know from my father how vulnerable a drunk man can be. Too many times to count he came home without his coin, though I was never quite sure if he drank it all or if it was stolen the way he claimed. Because of him, taverns have never been my favorite of places. But it's not hard to locate the nearest one from the noise roaring out of it. As I open the door, I'm hit by a wall of warmth and alcohol. My vision blurs and I stagger back. "You okay, love?" a woman asks. From the croak in her voice, she must be in her 80s. And who knows what state her hearing is in, particularly if she spends her time in loud taverns like this one. Still, I can barely offer her an audible reply. She meets my gaze. I notice the peculiar color of her eyes. Such a deep brown they border on garnet red. And as I try to get a closer look, I notice how her attention shifts to my hair. Fuck. "Oh, gods be kind to me," she murmurs quietly. A sliver of weight falls in my stomach. So many times I've heard that response, and it normally comes before they back away. That's the best result. The less preferable one is when they start yelling at me. Yelling at me for being the Queen Killer's family, cursing my mother's innocent name. Once or twice, it's even resulted in me taking some punches. Backing away with a shocked look is a far better result. But rather than leaving the way I expected her to, the aged woman moves closer and places a hand on my shoulder. "Sit down," she says. "You should sit down. Come." "No, not," I tell her, looking around me. "I can't." My heart drums against my ribs as my eyes scan the patrons. Most of them are standing or sitting, clanging their tankards together while chatting and laughing. But one or two are already passed out drunk, slumped on chairs or the ground. People sidestep them as they skirt past. They're the ones I can't look away from. It's as though I'm expecting him to be there. Father. There were so many times that we'd find my father lying cold in taverns just like this one. His breathing so shallow it was hard to tell if he was alive. I'd have to feel around for a pulse just to check, just to be sure. I remember wondering what I would do if one day there wasn't a pulse. Would it be a relief? One less burden I wouldn't have to deal with? That was what I thought. That yes, it would be a relief. That was until the very next week when it finally happened. When no amount of shaking or throwing water over him stirred him from his drunken stupor. Because for the first time it was not drink that gripped him, but martyrdom himself. But there was no relief, just more loss. And now, the guilt of that thought cripples me. After all the heartbreak I've been through, I didn't know it was possible to feel anymore. But guilt still gnaws at my gut, and I keep thinking that maybe Father knew. Maybe he somehow knew I had that thought. That I felt life would be easier without the burden of him too once Mother had gone. I tell myself there was no way he could have known. Father was a wind weaver, an exceptionally formidable one, yes. But there was not an element of mind magic in there. If he had known my thoughts, it would only have been because my face had betrayed them. I know it's just guilt that makes me feel this way. At least the rational part of my brain does. The other part, though, the one held fast by loss and pain, that one has a harder time believing. "Love?" the woman says to me again, dragging me out of the dark recesses of my memories. This time I look at her properly, noticing her thin cloak of deep purple. It has several holes along the hem and hood, but it has a hood, which is better than anything I have. And truthfully, I'd much rather borrow one than steal one. "I'm sorry," I say, thinking quickly and offering a smile. "I want to go to Edda's temple to pray, but I can't get into the third." I gesture to my hair. "I don't suppose I could borrow your cloak, could I? I'll bring it back." She tilts her head to the side, as if observing me in a manner that goes beyond simply what the eyes can see. "Yes, you will, won't you?" she asks in a way that tells me it is no question at all. The hairs on the back of my neck rise, and an unease churns through my stomach, and I'm about to say not to worry, that I'll find another solution,
But before I can, she's already pulling the cloak from her back.
"Of course you can borrow it, child. Really, it is the least I can do."
There's something about the way the woman looks at me that unnerves me. Maybe it's the fact that she hasn't sworn at me or thrown something at me. I'm not used to kindness these days. I know well that any gift inevitably has a blade buried in it. But if this gift is barbed, I can't see how. "Thank you," I tell her, stretching out my hand for it. But she wraps it around my shoulders herself, even going so far as to clasp the button at the top.
"Take care, my child," she says. "I'll be here when you return. To talk."
Okay, so maybe there is a barb. She's distinctly odd. Perhaps she's lonely? In need of company? "Thank you," I reply, already planning to return the cloak subtly and sneak out of the place before she notices. Drawing the fabric tighter around me, I turn back to hurry out the door before she can change her mind about lending it to me. Chapter 6. The conversation with the woman was unnerving, but I try to push it from my mind as I head through to the third ring, the hood of the cloak concealing my hair. Considering how thin the fabric is, it holds more warmth than you'd expect, and I wonder about her magic. Perhaps she has something like Reuben, but is able to imbue her heat into inanimate objects. Or perhaps she was simply wearing it in a warm tavern for several hours.
"You!
A knight calls out as I approach the gate.
Where are you going?"
I turn to look at him, trying to still the drumming in my ears as a layer of nervous sweat rapidly covers my palms. The maroon-clad guard isn't the problem, though. It's his direwolf. Sitting at his side, her bottom lip is curled up as she stares at me. Not snarling, but a long way from quiet. Like all bonded wolves, there's a circle of white around her irises, the ring showing that the direwolf has traded its wild life to be bonded to a Marathkian knight. There are all sorts of rumors about exactly how much you share with your bonded direwolf, whether it's a case of being able to transfer thoughts, full conversation, or simply an emotional connection. The latter would make more sense. It would mean the direwolf could come to your aid whenever you felt fearful. But sharing direct thoughts? I can't even imagine what such a beast would want to think about. Although, from the way she's looking at me right now, I suspect hunger and violence would be top of the list.
"Where are you going?"
The knight asks again. "To the Temple of Edda," I tell him truthfully. He eyes me suspiciously as the direwolf moves closer and sniffs me.
"Why?"
The guard asks next. "Why am I going to the temple? Why else to pray?" I say flatly. He presses his lips together.
"You got traveling papers?"
He questions. My eyes slide sideways, and panic grips me. Fuck. Traveling papers? I didn't know I needed such a thing. If I need papers, the heist is screwed before I even get started. A cold rush surges through me as my heart adopts an erratic new pace. I swallow and try to claw my anxiety down. I'm not giving up now. Kay needs me to do this, and Rula is not a woman to disappoint. There's a reason she has men like Tella on her payroll. I'm not letting one idiot guard screw us over. I give him an annoyed look, styling it out. "You're joking, right? You don't need papers to get into the third." He snorts.
"Of course you do. Everyone knows that."
"Since when?" I argue. "I've been to the third before, plenty of times."
"Is that right? And when did you last come here?"
I open my mouth as I try to remember. It wasn't in the last moon. I know that because Dina came to see us instead. So what does that make? 2 moons? Maybe 3? I'm not sure. "At least within the last 4 moons, I tell him. I can't remember which. I have a friend among the priestesses, Dina Paltic. I visit her often. She never mentioned needing papers to visit her now."
"Is that right?"
His face is completely stern until suddenly, without warning, it cracks into a wide smile.
"Well, guess you should go right through."
I don't understand. Seeing the confusion on my face, he explains.
"There's no such thing as traveling papers. I made them up."
"What?" I ask aghast. He winks.
"Helps weed out the ones who shouldn't be going in, you see? They start acting like they've lost theirs, rummaging through their bag and stuff. That's how you know they're lying. Ones who've been here before know it ain't the case. Smart, right?
It's obviously the answer he wants me to give, and I oblige with a quiet mutter of, right. But that's not how I feel at all. I don't think it's smart. I think it's cruel. The third ring holds the biggest temples to 6 of the 7 gods of Marathka, and the only reason there isn't one for Sanrot is because he's the god of land and sea. He can be worshipped anywhere. Everybody should be allowed into the third ring to pay homage to their fealty deities, and the fact that this guard thinks he's being smart by tricking people and keeping them out makes me feel sick to the gut. I glance down, only for my eyes to fall on the dire wolf who's lost her snarl. Maybe she knows she's bonded to an asshole. Well, I should be getting to the temple, I say, ensuring my hood is completely in place before I move through the gate, past the knight and his poor bonded wolf. The deeper into Rohelm you go, the thicker the walls of the rings are, and higher, too. This third wall is higher even than the temples, not allowing people on the outside a chance to see their houses of worship, but it's only a fraction as narrow. In just a minute, I'm back in the daylight and staring at some of the most beautiful buildings in Rohelm. As a child, I would come here often, and not just to worship the gods. Dina raised my mother when she was dumped as a baby at the Temple of Edda. Mother's surname, Iser, means exactly that, child of God. Not having her own family meant that Dina was everything to Mother, and by extension to us. And as such, I know the goddess's garden a little. It's directly behind the brick wall that extends around the back of the temple. I also know there's absolutely no way for me to get in that way without a priestess to guide me through, and with good reason. The goddess's garden is not just for decoration and beauty. My mother used to talk about the garden frequently when we were in her own orangery, back in the Highhold. She would tell me about the wondrous plants that grew there. So many herbs and flowers with so many uses, magical and otherwise. Of course, nestled along with all the plants that can help are those that can harm, including hemlock. Which is why the priestesses keep such strict control over access. Only they decide who is granted its mercy. The garden is dangerous for the uneducated, but thanks to Mother's tutelage, I'm not one of them. Still, any regular person can unknowingly pick a pretty yellow blossom and take a sniff of a stunning flower, only discerning its Cytisus scoparius when their heart begins to fail. Or maybe it'll be the heart-shaped blooms of Lamprocapnos that get their attention, or the deliberate hues of the oleander. There are so many plants that can kill you. And so I understand and agree with why they keep the wall so closely guarded. Except right now, I wish they didn't. Even though it's only 10 feet or so high, far shorter than the tree I scaled this morning, it's too busy to risk climbing, even with darkness creeping in. I have to try a different option. For a moment, I consider simply going into the temple. I'm sure there's a route through somehow, a way in which I could sneak through the back corridors and get to the garden, but it would be too easy to get caught. I'd hoped that with night falling I would have more cover, but the reality is it doesn't matter what time of day it is. The temple is always busy, full of priestesses, each with a distinctive blue stone embedded in their foreheads, working in service to the goddess of life, and full of penitents and worshippers making their offerings. Pinching the bridge of my nose, I force my panicked mind to calm and think. As Father used to say, there are always options, Rose. I can't go through the temple. I can't go over the wall. That leaves one option. Go under it. Chapter 7. It's not very often that you're grateful for the absolutely freezing weather, but this is one of those times. The icy temperature means that the excrement I'm crawling over is mostly frozen. Mostly. There are still occasional moments when my hand sinks into something disturbingly soft, and I'm forced to swallow down a gag as I claw through the sewers. And it's even worse for my feet. My shoes are so thin that it doesn't take long before there's a disgusting squelch between my toes. My bag slips around to the side of me again, and I curse as I shift it more squarely onto my back. What kind of person breaks into a goddess's temple garden? Not someone who wants Edda's favor, that's for sure. As much as the woman at the tavern gave me the creeps, I did fold her cloak and place it safely by the drain before I ventured into the muck so that I could return it to her in decent condition. That's assuming I don't get caught. I'm not sure what the punishment would be for sneaking into the goddess's garden, but when you consider that nobody would do it for an altruistic, harmless reason, combined with my family's checkered past, I'm pretty sure I wouldn't be offered leniency. As much as I hate this revolting crawl through the sewers, and I really do hate it, at least it's giving me time to think, to plan how to do this, to think about the hemlock, where it's likely to be, and how to get in and out of there as quickly as possible. There are several other poisons that would do the job and kill the man who has done Rula wrong, but she was specific about wanting it to leave no trace. In some ways, I have to admire her, given that knights would never care enough about the death of some slum murderer to bother working out the cause. But I understand her desire for secrecy. No one wants a target on their back. And maybe it's not the knights and gods she's worried about, but the bastard's family or friends. I turn my thoughts back to the poisons. Anything that acts too slowly will lead to suspicion of poisoning, and I don't want him to start frothing at the mouth or vomiting. Foxgloves out too, as he'd see green and yellow halos in his vision before it took effect. All the victim would have to do is tell somebody, and a bit of digging around would undoubtedly lead to the cause. Rula was right. My best bet is water hemlock. It's so fast, he won't even know what hit him, let alone have time to seek help. Hopefully the fact that it likes waterlogged environments means I'm likely to find it close to the drains. Maybe I won't even have to stray too deep into the garden. If the goddess of life is watching, she already knows why I'm here. And if Edda lets me take the hemlock, then I know I have her acceptance, if not her blessing. I keep moving, crawling through the mostly frozen slurry, keeping careful note as the pipes twist and turn to ensure I'm still heading in the direction of the garden. Every so often, there are grates above that allow me a glimpse of the starry sky. To start with, these grates show very little, but it doesn't take long before I'm under the temple itself. I can hear the patter of feet above me, the muffled talking and prayers of worshippers. This would be a perfect vantage point to spy from, that's for sure. A great way to listen in on other people's libations and desires, though I have neither the time nor inclination for that. Each person's wish is their own. Who am I to judge? Life has taught me I'm nobody. My hands are growing numb, and my lungs are struggling with the lack of fresh air. I'm desperate to cough and retch, but I strain against my stomach muscles. A misplaced cough in a quiet moment, and I will be discovered. A little way above me, I can see light filtering through that is somehow different, more muted. Evening light, perhaps? If that's the case, then I will soon be back outside on the other side of the temple and in the garden. I quicken my pace until I reach a ladder and climb up, gulping a breath of fresh air with pure relief. I hang there for a moment, just grateful to be free of the stench. I listen, and when I'm sure I'm alone, I push open the grate and step out of the sewer. All I can do is stand and stare. The garden is truly spectacular, even lit only by moonlight. A massive expanse, a field almost, it's carefully curated. Is it any wonder my mother loved the place so much? Having the ability to control plants and growing up with this garden must have been intoxicating. I know from my own visits here as a child how it felt to have all that power and those resources at your fingertips, and my magic had barely even begun to settle. My mother had years to harness her skills in these surroundings. No doubt it was a boon to the priestesses, too, I think cynically. As I stand there, noting the viscous layer of mud, at least I'm desperately hoping it's mud, coating my shoes, I curse the fact that I don't have my mother's notebook with me. Even here, at the edge of it all, I can already see there are so many things in this garden that I've never seen before. So many I'm sure I could use to make tonics that would earn Kay and me so much more money, if I were to take something extra. I close my eyes. No, it's not worth the risk. I'm here for Rula and for Kay, not to become a common thief,
which means taking the one thing I need and leaving the rest. Even if every step causes me to eye the foliage with envy. Scanning the area around me, I try to work out the planting pattern. My mother once told me about the garden's layout, how all the plants that adore the sun are straight in the center so that they aren't affected by the looming shadows as the sun rises and falls. But water hemlock isn't one of those, meaning it's likely to be near one of the walls. But which? I bite my lip as I consider where to go next. Hemlock is a fast-acting poison, so even though the garden is suitably protected against thieves and intruders, no one in their right mind would place something like that where it could be easily accessed, which means I probably need to move deeper in. Some of these plants are over 6 feet high, and even the smaller plants are so dense it's difficult to see through so many leaves. I know I'm looking for a plant with white blossoms, but no such luck there. I bite my lip. Maybe it would have been wiser to come earlier in the day. Sure, there are a couple of torches on the wall, illuminating bits of the garden, but it's nothing like daylight. Not only that, but the torches give off a yellow hue, which tinges almost everything. As I begin to feel panic rise, my eyes adjust to the light and fall upon a cluster of the lightest colored blossoms I've seen so far. I head towards the first one, only to realize from several feet away that it's some kind of allium. When I spot another, it looks like some form of dogwood. As I head towards a third, muttered words catch my attention. Shit. Immediately stilling, I peer between the bushes to see 2 priestesses in their cloaks, talking as they make their way towards me. Hurriedly, I duck down into a plant. Please don't let it be poisonous, I pray to Edda as my skin brushes up against it. That would be a disaster. Not only would I not be getting Kay a job, but I'd be killing myself in the process. I stay down, with my breath held and form low until the pair pass. I wait a moment longer still, just to ensure they're not glancing back, then scramble to my feet. Moments later, I spot bright white nestled nearby. My heart skips. It's hemlock. Hastily, I race over. I should have brought a knife with me, something to make cutting off the leaves easier. As it is, all I've got to use are my hands. Idiot. I grimace, but I've no choice. I can't go through all of this and return empty-handed. Rula's not the forgiving type. So I cover my fingers with my shirt. The entire plant is toxic. The last thing I need is to get some in my eyes or even brushed against my skin. Unfortunately, trying to break off the leaves with fumbling hands is less than straightforward. And though the first handful I snatch is a decent size, I can't keep hold of it. Over half of it slips to the ground. Next time I go for less, and this bunch, I actually get into the bag. There's more than enough for Rula to distill into something potent. Maybe even enough that I could keep a leaf or 2 for myself. Maybe one day I'll find a way into Highhold again, and I could slip some into King Corvain's cup, or into his lying sons. These thoughts of vengeance often warm me in the dead of night, when Reuben's not there to do the job, that is. I pull the drawstrings of the bag tightly closed and turn around ready to leave, only to find my path blocked. Oh, fuck. What in the goddess's name are you doing? Chapter 8. I don't know the priestess glaring at me, but her features are hard and her eyes narrow and angry. Oh, this is bad. She huffs. I will not ask you again. In the goddess's name, what are you doing here? My throat dries, and my heart hammers while I fumble for an innocent explanation, but there's only one priestess I can be taken to who might not see me thrown in jail. I'm here fetching some things for Dina, I blurt. Dina? Yes, sister. She asked me to fetch something. The woman looks behind me, searching for the accompanying priestess I should have with me, but don't. Priestess Dina? What exactly did she ask you to fetch? There's no way I can say hemlock. No one is going to be foolish enough to believe a priestess of the goddess of life would want poison. Pleading ignorance is the only thing I can do. Allium. She told me, yes. She said they were white plants, bushy flowers. Yes, they are, but those are not alliums, she says firmly, pointing at the hemlock plant before glancing at me, eyes trailing down to my hands. You did not pluck any? She asks. No. I lie easily, shaking my head. I make sure I stay in the shadows and pray she will mistake my white-stripped hair for something else in the darkness. A honey blonde, or even an old woman's gray. You're lucky. The sap alone is enough to blister your skin, allowing you to wander through this garden alone. It's highly irregular for Dina, not to mention dangerous. It's my fault. I wanted to impress her, so I told her I knew what they looked like, I say. Still, it is not right. I will take you to her now. I bite down on my bottom lip. Taking me to Dina. I've already seen one more priestess than I wanted to on this trip, and there's no way Dina is going to buy a lie about me not knowing what plant is what. I have no choice but to nod politely and let the priestess guide me to a far corner of the garden. There, pruning in near darkness, is the priestess who raised my mother, my grandmother in all but name. Her eyes widen at the sight of me and her fellow priestess by my side, but she recovers quickly. Sister Dina, the stern priestess says, I found this young woman wandering the gardens alone. She said you had sent her to find something. That I had. Dina looks up, her eyes cool now, no hint of the shock I saw in them a beat before. Yes, sister, I did. She was gathering something for me. I appreciate her vagueness. Well, she nearly gathered hemlock by mistake. She what? Her glare is enough to make me shrink into my shoulder. I should have gone with her. I trusted her to be better than that. Her choice of words causes a dead weight within me. Her disappointment is plain. I've never felt it emanate from her to me so directly, and it feels like a direct reprimand from my mother, too. A lump forms in my throat. Thick and hot, and I try to swallow it down. Thank you, sister. It was time Rose was leaving anyway. Thank you for bringing her back to me. I'll take her from here. There's a commanding tone to her voice, and while I know very little about the hierarchy of the priestesses, from the way the other woman dips her head and shuffles back slightly, she knows she's been dismissed. And I'm left here with a stone weight in my belly, staring at my feet. For some reason, I find it easier to square up against drunk men in the slums or climb impossible heights for a couple of eggs than to face the berating I'm about to get. Hemlock Rose? I hope she's joking. Her nose wrinkles. In the goddess's name, why do you smell like a sewer? I bite the inside of my cheek and consider making up some lie, but she'd see straight through it. It's how I snuck in here, I tell her, so I wasn't seen. You came in through the sewers? Goddess Rose! She stares at my bag. And I guess you got what you came for? Again, I consider lying. After all, it worked well enough on the previous priestess. But she didn't know me. Dina does. It's no use. I have to tell the truth. Dina, please. I need to keep Kay off the streets. By killing someone? A look of horror crosses her face. What's happened, Rose? Has something happened to Acacia? Why didn't you come to me? I shake my head. No, she's fine, for now. Please, Dina, believe me. This won't fall into the wrong hands. If anything, it's doing good. It's going to save more lives than it takes. But it will take lives. Her expression hardens, and as I glance down at her fists, I notice the way her hands are clenched. I thought she was mad at me, but I was wrong. She's fucking furious. You come into the garden of the goddess of life, and you steal a plant grown for death. What on earth are you thinking? What am I thinking? The fear and self-recrimination I felt only moments ago shift into frustration. I was thinking that Kay has been talking about wanting to work and the fact that I need her to work to earn money so we can survive. But you and I both know there's only one job a girl who looks like her ends up with in the slums. There's no chance of her being a seamstress like she could be if she were in the fifth ring. No work in a rich house, learning to cook if she were closer to the high hold. There's only one job for someone like her, and it will break her. It will break her so fully that I don't know if she'll even want to keep living after that. I'm exhausted, Dina. Father's only been dead 6 months,
and it's taken everything from me. I thought it would be easier without him, without another mouth to find food for, without someone spending any money we managed to scrape together on drink, but for all his drinking, Father still labored, still brought us coin. Now that's gone. I've been doing all I can, trying to make it work and failing. I know I've been failing. We're starving every night, Dina. But now I finally got a chance to get Kay the right kind of work. That's what I was thinking. That maybe taking the life of one murderous rapist who killed one of Kay's only friends is worth it to prevent my sister from spreading her legs for coin and going the same way as poor Talia. So if you're going to ask me if I regret my decision to come here today, the answer will be no. 1,000 times no. Dina stares at me, jaw slack in shock. Rose. Edda is the goddess of life, she finally repeats, like I don't know whose garden I stand in. And yet her priestesses grow hemlock. For mercy! Right, I spit back. And what is it you always say to me? The goddess has her reasons. My skin bristles as I say those words aloud. I've lost count the number of times the priestesses have spouted that line at me. When we were stripped of our powers and sent from the household. When my mother got ill. When she finally lost her life. Maybe the goddess has her reasons for sending me here today. And making sure that you were here in the garden when I needed you. It's possible, right? You grow that herb. You grow hemlock. Surely there's a reason for that, too. I pause, giving her space to respond, but she doesn't. The goddess has her reasons for me being here. That's what I think. I fold my arms stubbornly. I see the deliberation flicker through her features. Surely she knows I'm right. That you can't use a phrase when it suits you and ignore it all other times. Meaning that maybe, just maybe, she's going to let me walk out of here with the hemlock in my satchel. As the pause extends, a flicker of hope sparks through me, only for her to stiffen her back, stamping it out. She is the goddess of life. I cannot let you do this, Rose, I cannot. Give me your satchel. I want to say no, to tell her I need it. But how can I? There's nothing more I can say. I laid all my cards on the table. I couldn't have stated it more clearly. With reluctance in every line of my body, I pass her my satchel. She opens it and takes out the small bag within it, mouth pressing into a hard line of disapproval. Come on. I'll walk you out, she says. Rather than going out through the temple, we head to the garden wall. There's no evidence of a gate or a door, but Dina doesn't need it. One of her powers allows her to walk through walls, and though she can't take me with her, she can remove the obstacle from my path. She places her hand against the gray stone, and a shimmer of light cascades down to the ground. A moment later, the stones fade to nothing. I'm sorry, Rose, she says finally. And she does sound a little sorry, but not as much as I think she should. But this is for the best. You know it is. I can't respond. I don't want to be angry, not at someone who has done so much for me, who is like family to me. But she's chosen the goddess over us, over Kay and me. But then, what else should I expect from a priestess? Dina gestures through the open doorway, a clear indication that it's my time to leave. Without so much as a word, I step through the wall and onto the lawn outside. I stalk away, but then abruptly turn back. My bag? I ask. It's not like it's worth anything, as it's old and tatty, but it's useful, and in my situation, that's as much as I can ask for. Of course, Dina replies, throwing it to me lightly through the newly created doorway. As it leaves her hand, I realize priestesses don't practice a lot of throwing, or at least Dina doesn't. It drops to the ground far too quickly, about an equal distance between the wall and me. I walk back to it with a slight huff. I bend down to pick it up, only to stop. My heart stutters. There, stuck on the tar-like gunk that covers my shoe, is a cluster of green. It's the first handful of leaves I managed to snap off. The one that dropped to the ground before I could get it into the bag. It's not a lot, but it's at least 5 or 6 sizable leaves. Enough to brew 1 vial of poison. Turns out, the goddess of life has a more nuanced way of thinking after all. My hands are trembling as I pick up my bag, wave jauntily to Dina,
and walk very carefully away from the garden wall. Chapter 9. Once I'm out of sight of Dina, I use my sleeve to retrieve the leaves from my shoe and secure them in my bag. My heart drums, half with elation, half with fear as I'm careful not to touch them. The last thing I want is to injure myself now, after all I've been through to get them. I've succeeded. After everything, I've got Rula her hemlock. Her poison to kill this bastard before he can hurt anyone else. Before another young woman like Talia becomes nothing more than a headstone in the earth. Now I just need to get it to Rula before the night is over. As helpful as it was for Dina to allow me out of the garden through the wall, there's still the old woman's cloak I left by the entrance to the sewers. There's no way I cannot return it, not after she gave it so willingly, and it's only a slight detour to pick up the item from where I left it by the drain. It's quick enough to grab, and I don't bother putting it back on. The guards don't care about people moving out of the rings, and I don't want to soil it with what is undoubtedly an increasingly awful stench. Foul odor aside, my adrenaline remains high from my success, and I have to constantly fight the urge to chuck on the hemlock leaves and focus on getting back. The quarter moon is low in the sky. Going to all this effort only to miss Rula's midnight deadline is unthinkable. The tavern in the fourth is busier than when I left, and from the upturned chairs that scatter the space, at least one fight has broken out since I was gone. A shudder of memories ripples through me. My father was never one to start fights, I'll give him that. But that didn't mean he didn't get caught up in them often enough. Countless times he'd stumble home, blood streaming down his face, so numb from alcohol he was entirely unaware of the gaping gashes that littered his cheeks and brows. And I would have to sit there, cleaning out the wounds and trying to ensure Kay didn't see him in such a state. I'm sure no other woman who grew up in the courts has used her sewing skills on skin more than on fabric the way I have. Pulling myself back into the moment, and grateful that I missed whatever brawl took place, I scan the space for the old woman, determined to leave before the next one starts. "You looking for Elia?" I jump at the voice behind me and turn to find a barmaid with deep red hair and yellow eyes looking at me. "You're looking for Elia, right? She said you'd come to give her the cloak back." "Oh, yes," I respond after a moment of confusion. Elia. It's not a name I've heard before, but given that the old woman was more than a little unique, it fits somehow, for her to have a unique name to match. "Thank you." I take the cloak and hold it out to the barmaid, though she doesn't take it. Instead, she nods to a table with an upturned chair. "Elia said you should wait for her, that she wanted to speak to you." My stomach twists. I don't have time to get embroiled in a conversation, not when I need to get back to Rula. Nor do I want to. This Elia may have done me a favor, but there was something about her that caused the skin on the back of my neck to prickle. "Sorry, but I can't stay," I tell the barmaid, dropping the folded cloak on the table next to us. "She said I had to insist." "Then explain I insisted harder," I reply, turning on my heel only to throw the last words over my shoulder, "and tell her thank you." Most likely, the old lady just wanted someone new to regale with her tales of the past, the way lonely people so often do. And it's not as if I begrudged her that. I can't imagine what it must be like to know that most of your life is behind you, and what remains ahead is likely full of pain and heartache. But there are plenty of other people there she can talk to, and I have a pressing engagement for which I cannot be late. The cold is hostile, but it has its advantages, encouraging me to take a swift pace. Although when I'm outside the walls and back in the slums, I realize my next issue. The market is locked down for the night, and unsurprisingly, Rula doesn't give out her home address. Does she expect me to hunt her down? That seems unlikely, considering it would raise questions as to why I'm looking for her. Still, I head to where the market is set up during the day. While there's no sign of Rula, I spy Jack leaning against a wall, his breath fogging in the air as he blows on his hands, trying to keep them warm. When his eyes land on me, he offers a swift jerk of his head. Apparently, I have to follow.
"You took your time,"
he says, as he ushers me down a side alley.
"Been waiting there for hours. Shit, you stink."
I don't bother replying, as I'm too tired for small talk. Thankfully, he doesn't press the matter. We take several turns down increasingly narrow alleyways, our footsteps muffled by the cries and drunken wails coming from inside the homes around us.
"Wait here,"
he says eventually before disappearing down the next turning. I do as he says, shivering in the cold, until a familiar, corpulent figure, made all the more rotund with the excess of furs draped over it, appears in front of me a few minutes later. "You can leave us." Rula's voice is a low bark at Jack, who scurries away without question, leaving me and the virago alone, somewhere in the depths of the slums. I'd really started to think I knew my way around the place over the last few moons, but it's a hive, a living organism that's constantly shifting and growing. Hopefully Jack'll appear to show me my way back home, else I'll have to keep wandering around until I end up somewhere I recognize. "Did you get it?" she asks me. I nod and pass her the bag, which she undoes with exceptional deftness considering her gloves. Then when she glances inside, she wrinkles her nose at the contents. "I tried to get more," I explain, "but they got confiscated." Her eyes widen with shock as her gaze springs up to meet mine. "You were seen?" "And then some," I admit, "but by a friend. She wasn't willing to let me walk out with the hemlock, but I got a few when she wasn't looking." "And you're sure this will do the job?" "Positive." Rula's mouth twists. "Great," she says, shoving the bag back into my hand. "Then I guess you'd better start brewing. He won't stay in the tavern forever." "What?" My entire body jerks, as if she's just struck me. "No, I just had to get this to you. That was the deal." An all too familiar smirk twists Rula's lips as she looks at me with raised eyebrows. "What do I know about brewing a poison? Brewing of any sort? No, you must do it for me." My head shakes repeatedly, though not fast enough to mute the rushing of blood behind my eardrums. She wants me to make the poison. If I do so, I'll be even more complicit in killing a man. "That wasn't our arrangement," I whisper harshly. "Perhaps you didn't listen clearly enough," she suggests, a dark twinkle in her eye. "Of course, if you want to leave now, I know plenty of young women who'd love a job in the 5th. No, it's fine." The words spill from my mouth before I can stop them. This is not what I agreed to, but what choice do I have? I've come this far. If I don't brew the poison for her, she'll just find someone else who will. Rula will get her poison, but Kay will be without a job. It would all have been for nothing. I try to swallow the lump that's forcing its way up my throat. I guess I'm going to be more involved in this murder than I planned. I wonder if the goddess would have left those leaves stuck to my shoe, if she'd known. Chapter 10. I expect it to be a long, winding route to Rula's home, but surprisingly, Jack has taken me nearly to her front door. We're only a few steps down the alley when Rula unlocks a large array of padlocks and lets us into her abode. The instant I step into the room, I'm hit with a blast of heat. And rather than observe my surroundings, my mind rushes back through memories to a time long ago when this kind of warmth was once my normal. A time when my little brother was alive, and my life was filled with laughter, hope, a future. That's why I'm here, I remind myself, to try to get Kay a future again. Maybe not the type we believed we would experience growing up, filled with balls, direwolves, and all the wonder of the high-hold, but a future with full bellies, warmth each night, and enough money to stop people like Rula from using us to perform her nefarious deeds. "How long will this take?" she asks, gesturing to a small stove in the corner of the room. "I have people keeping him entertained, but I don't want him getting restless, deciding he needs to leave." "It shouldn't take too long," I reply. "I need some water, though alcohol's better if you've got it, and a pan you don't mind chucking out after. Oh, and a vial to put it in." "I'm sure I have something you can use." As she moves toward the kitchenette and starts opening cupboards, my eyes fall on a large bowl next to the stove. It's piled high with fruit. Crisp apples, dimpled pears. My mouth salivates at the very sight of them. I'm not sure I can even remember what an apple tastes like. Sweet, I remember that much. Sweet and cool. "I'm sure I'll have a couple to spare if you do this for me," she says with a smile that looks warm. But I already know. There's more ice in her veins than even the Isin have. Spurred by the promise of fruit, and trying to ignore the crippling unease that threatens to paralyze me when I consider what I'm about to do, I move over to the stove, taking the vial, which I'm pretty sure is one of my own, from Rula as I go. I need a knife, too, I tell her as I reach for my bag, and a chopping board, and something to cover my hands, gloves.
That seems a little excessive,
she replies. Unless you want me to render my hands useless so that I can't finish this brew, let alone ever make you another, I'd consider it more of a necessity. My voice snaps more than anticipated, and though snapping at Rula is never a good idea, I'm so tired that I'd almost certainly injure myself if I tried making the poison without gloves.
Fine, she says. I'm sure I've got some lying about.
As she begins to rummage in a trunk, I take my first proper look around the room. Warmth and fruit aren't the only items that convey Rula's status and wealth. Her bed is a soft mattress with a fur blanket, and there are several other furs hanging on pegs on the wall by the door. Hats, scarves, muffs. They're luxuries I can't ever imagine being able to afford again. And then there are the locks on the doors. Sure, I barricade our house as much as possible so that what little we have can't be stolen. But here is a proper door, with bolts on the top, bottom, and in the middle, not to mention a large chain that wraps around the center. No one is getting in here without her permission.
These do?
She asks, holding out a pair of thin woolen gloves. There are holes in the tip of the middle finger and in a couple of the knuckles, but the knit is tight. If I'm careful, I should be able to avoid any contact with the hemlock. The last thing I want is any giveaway boils or rashes to alert Kay, or, worst-case scenario, the knights. They should work. As I set to work, it takes all my focus to remain on task. If I'd known exactly what I'd be doing, I would have spent the time with Reuben this afternoon sleeping instead. Well, maybe I wouldn't, but I probably should have. The matriarch takes a seat, a cushioned one, I can't help but notice, in the corner of the room, and watches on as I cut the leaves into thin strips, which I then place into the pan, dousing them with alcohol before I set it onto the heat. A low simmer only, enough to extract the poison but not denature it. That's what I hope, at least. That's how it works with other brews. It needs to simmer for a little while, I explain.
Fine, then go and shower, you reek. I'll set some fresh clothes out for you to dress in.
She gestures to a side room, and I can hardly believe it. Rula has a shower, and she's letting me use it. A minute later, I've stripped and stepped in. The water is cold but not freezing, and washing myself like this is a luxury I haven't had in months, maybe even a year. I'd love to wallow in the sensation, but I know we're on a deadline, and having come this far, the last thing I want to do is anger Rula. So as soon as I'm clean and certain there are no traces of the sewers or the deadly plant on my skin, I dry and dress in the borrowed clothes as quickly as I can. When I return to the brew, I find that a dark brown tincture, remarkably similar in color to ale, has formed at the bottom of the pan.
Are we good to go?
She asks. There's something about her use of the word we that itches at the back of my brain, but I try to ignore it. I'm sure it's just a turn of phrase. Or at least I hope so. Do you have a funnel? I ask as I prepare to pour the brew from the pan into the vial, so it doesn't spill everywhere. Rula raises an eyebrow.
Do I look like I have a funnel?
She replies incredulously.
I pay people like you to make my tonic, so I don't have to worry about stuff like that.
Well, that's me told. Careful not to spill any of the brew, I pour as slowly as I can into the vial, only stopping when it's full to the top. There's more here, I tell her, lifting the pan. We should dispose of the rest. Pour it down the drain outside.
Yes.
Rula steps forward and takes the pan from my hand.
Of course, but you can leave that there for me to sort later. I'll see to it that it's not misused. We need to get going, or we'll miss our chance.
I hate the thought of leaving even more poison in Rula's ruthless hands. But what part of this haven't I hated? The part where Kay gets a job, I remind myself. It's done, I say, fixing the cork in the top of the vial and handing it to Rula.
Then we should get going,
she replies. There it is, that we again, and I'm too tired to even object.
So far, all Rula's told me about this man, apart from him being a murderer, is that he likes to drink, and he's currently being entertained. And as I have a horrible feeling I know what type of entertainment she's talking about, it's with a ripple of trepidation that I follow her out of the slums and into the outer ring, towards a large building with a corrugated roof and several women outside in scant clothing despite the cold. Women. It feels like the wrong word to use, given that half of them are younger than I am. They're part of the reason I'm doing this, I remind myself, for the ones like them who died, and to make sure Kay won't ever join their ranks. Inside, the tavern is in even greater disrepair than the one I visited in the 4th. There's no bar to speak of, just men and women wandering around with trays of drink, offering them in exchange for coin.
That's our mark,
Rula says.
Frederick Provic.
Somehow, I suspect I would have spotted the man even if she hadn't pointed him out to me. While the rest of the patrons look like they have nowhere else to go, this man has clearly chosen to be here. It's not just his furs, or the silk trim he wears around his neck that make him stand out from the rest of the patrons. His hair is slicked back, combed to perfection in a way no one from out here has the time or inclination to do. And other than the smudges of lipstick on his cheeks, his skin is clear, not pitted and mottled from the cold. Then there's the pile of coins in front of him. If the sight of fruit at Rula's had made me salivate, this is enough to have me outright drooling. And every other person in here, too, I suspect. For a brief moment, I wonder why no one has made a move to steal any of it. But then I spot the knives on his belt and the one on the table in front of him. Something tells me he has the training to use them. Still, it's not the money or the weapons that hold my attention the most, but the man himself. The way his eyes continue to scan between the young women as he wets his lips. It's the same way a predator surveys its prey. As he traces a line up one of the women's arms, I watch her hold in a shudder. Clearly able to sense the reaction, Provic doesn't stop. Instead, he pulls the woman dressed in black closer and whispers in her ear. Her whole body turns rigid as a new sense of tension grips me. I don't need to hear what's being said to know he's every bit the monster Rula said he was.
You need to get the vial to the serving girl in white,
Rula whispers to me, her eyes not once having moved from the mark.
She'll doctor the tankard.
With each roll I fulfill, the goal shifts, and I'm finding myself more and more embroiled in this murder. Reading the disbelief on my face, Rula explains.
I can't go.
Her voice is low, controlled and unbending.
I'm too well known. I'll watch from here.
I grit my teeth. For Kay, I remind myself for what has to be the 1,000th time this night. I'm doing this for Kay. The girl in white looks at me and flashes a nervous smile. Clearly, Rula has already instructed her that I will hand her the poison. I grit my teeth. No going back now.
It's time,
Rula mutters as if I didn't already notice. With my pulse rising ever higher, I slip the vial into my palm and begin the walk across the room. With every step, my throat grows drier and drier, and the way my hands shake, I'm amazed I don't drop the vial entirely. Hey, sister. The girl in white approaches me, taking me by both hands as if it's some intimate greeting we're sharing, while in reality she slips the vial into her own hand. Come fetch some drinks with me, I can't carry them all. Like so many of tonight's events, this doesn't feel like something I can say no to, and as we move over to a tray of drinks, I understand her need for me. I can block the man's view as she empties the vial into one of the large tankards of drink. Here you go, she says, handing me the poisoned tankard. Take it to Jewel. I look blankly at her, but her smile only widens. Give it to her carefully, though. She's already spilt 2 drinks down that dress tonight. Good job she's wearing black. Her smile widens as the pieces fall into place. So Jewel's the woman wearing black. Something tells me this isn't the first time the girl in white has had to speak like this, with hidden meaning. Sure, I say through gritted teeth, taking the poisoned tankard and walking it over to the girl in black. Jewel? The girl turns to look at me as I hold out the drink. She's sitting on the left side of the man, and his hand is currently up her thigh,
"Thanks," she says, taking the tankard and lifting it to her lips. "What? No!" Panic grips my breath, and it takes all my willpower not to scream out. Doesn't she know it's poisoned? My eyes fly, pleading with Rula, begging her to stop it, and yet before a sound leaves my throat, the man speaks beside me.
"Jewel?"
His voice is a low drawl.
"You know better than to drink on the job. I need you to be perfectly sober for what I'm going to do to you later."
A tense smile flickers on Jewel's lips. "I was just going to have a little sip." She pouts. A dry laugh resonates from Provik's throat as he wags his finger.
No, you're not.
As he takes the tankard from her, Jewel's eyes flare pointedly, telling me to get the fuck out of here. This was all part of it. Part of the play. And I need to leave them to it. I need to get away. I back away as casually as I can, which isn't easy considering it feels like my heart is trying to break out of my chest. Am I a murderer? No, this is not on me. I didn't even know who this man was before Rula set this plan in motion. This is on her. And him. He's the murderous asshole who killed Talia. My hands and soul are clean, which is something he can't say. Somehow my feet move one step after another until I'm once again standing by Rula's side. "How long will it take to work?" she asks as we watch on. He downs the entire tankard in one, and my nerves have never been higher. Everything depends on what happens next. "A few minutes," I tell her, not sure how true my answer is, and yet the words have barely left my lips when one of the girls is on her feet. "Freddie? Freddie! What is it? Freddie, sit up!" As more women join in the shouting, Rula turns to me with an air of calmness radiating from her. "You can go now," she tells me. "You're done for tonight." The relief is nothing compared to the nausea I feel. The churning disgust ripples through me. A man is dying only feet away because of my actions. "This is not on you. This is on him," Rula says, her eyes hard as flint, not an ounce of remorse in her voice. "An eye for an eye. He should have been blinded a decade ago." I try to nod, try to accept what she's saying. After all, if she hadn't used me, she would have found another way. But it still doesn't erase the qualmishness that threatens to cause me to empty my stomach where I stand. Unable to stay here a moment longer, I turn to move, only to recall the entire purpose of this ordeal. "Kay?" I ask. "Her job. That was the deal." With a grunt, Rula turns back to look at me. "Bring her to me tomorrow morning at 7. Make sure she's not late. I won't get her another job if she fucks this up." She won't, I promise. Not a chance. Chapter 11. My mind is a mess as I head back into the slums. I should be pleased, happy that Kay might finally have security, food, a chance at a future. I am, but the cost. What of the cost? The death of a rapist. The very presence of the man made my skin crawl, and I don't doubt he deserved what was coming to him. But judgment should be left to the gods. But then again, maybe they forced Rula's hand with this one. After all, if they truly cared, so many things that happened would have been very different. The king would surely have seen through his son's lies, and we would still be safe in the highhold. Trying to push my actions behind me, I have just reached the market square when a figure steps out of the shadows. I can't deal with some drunkard's bullshit, I think, as I keep my pace steady, only to realize it's not just some drunkard. It's the worst of them.
Heard you were out late doing a special job for Rula. Makes sense. You are a special little flower, aren't you? You and that sister of yours.
My body turns rigid as Teller reaches me. Immediately, his hand trails upward to my hair, but I twist away. "It's been a long night, Tella," I tell him, hoping he'll get the hint. But he doesn't. Instead, he goes for my hair again. This time, I bat him away more forcefully.
"Why did you do that?"
he hisses, grabbing me by the wrist.
"I only want to be friends with you. We'd be great friends, you and me. Don't you think, Lady Cultivaris?"
His breath reeks of alcohol, and I grimace against the smell and proximity of his body. It's enough to make my skin crawl. I've got to get away from him, and I know there are only two ways of doing it. The way that descends into violence, with at least one of us getting hurt, or the more subtle way, where I manage to get home without escalating the matter. As I try to decide which to pursue, something glints at his waistband. The hilt of a knife. That puts paid to my initial plan of a sharp knee straight to his groin. Even if I were to get the blade off him, there's nothing to say he hasn't got another. Something about Tella makes me believe he's the type of man to carry more than one weapon, and he probably enjoys using them far more than any sane person should, too. I need to get back home. I try to keep my voice even. Rula's coming back to mine. She'd hate to hear how you delayed me.
Is that right?
He tilts his head to the side and presses his nose against my neck, drawing in a long inhale. Bile rises up the back of my throat.
Why don't I walk back with you? I could keep you warm.
My pulse hitches higher as I know he won't take kindly to rejection, but there's no way this ends with me accepting his offer. As I try to keep my breathing steady, my eyes fall again on the knife. It wouldn't matter if he's got another, not if I was quick enough. One strike, center of his chest. He won't be coming after me if I manage that.
I'm on to big things, Flower.
His words are slurred against my ear.
Rula doesn't know yet, but I'm on to big things. And when it happens, when I do it, there'll be those who are on my side and those who are against me. Which do you want to be, Flower? With me or against me?
His eyes meet mine, but rather than giving me room to even think, he draws his thumb clumsily along my bottom lip. As the bitter taste of dirt and drink swarms my senses, my rational thinking takes a back seat. I want to be as far away from you as possible, I spit. In one spin, I reach out and grab the hilt of the knife. After all, if I can't fight off one slum thug, I'll stand no chance if a Redderheld is actually called. My fingers curl around the metal as I slip it out of his waistband. But before I can get it fully free, his elbow slams into me. The knife clatters to the ground.
Why did you have to do that, Flower?
He yells.
Why did you have to ruin it?
I'm bent over double, struggling to breathe as he reaches down and grabs a fistful of my hair and yanks me upwards.
You think you're too good for me, Lady Cultivars? Is that it? You think you're too good for me, but you're fine with fucking that hot water bottle? Fuck you!
He moves to kick me, but I swing out of the way, using his own momentum to make him topple forward. The lack of balance is all I need to pull myself free from his grasp. As I do so, I spot the knife on the ground beneath him. Can I get it? My pulse pounds against my ribs, slowing my thoughts when I so desperately need them to be sharp. He's drunk. Maybe I could beat him without needing to stab him. But maybe not. And something tells me he wouldn't hesitate to reach for the blade if he sees it. With adrenaline rushing in my ears, I reach down between us, but I'm not fast enough. His fist collides with my ribcage. A crack resonates through my side, causing a gasp to fly from my lungs. Tears stream from my eyes as I fall to the ground. There, on all fours, he kicks me again, landing the blow in exactly the same place. The force is enough to lift me off the ground and cause me to drop down again. He spits at me.
You, Rula, Jack, you all think you're better than me.
No. I try to cough out my response, but my lungs are struggling to draw in a breath.
You picked the wrong side, Flower. Too bad. But maybe your sister will pick right when I go and pay her a visit next.
The thought of this vile creature's hands anywhere near Kay is enough for me to find a fresh surge of strength, and the knife is still there on the ground. Pain sears across my torso as I stretch out. It's no longer a case of not wanting to do it. Either I kill him or he kills me, and whatever future I secured for Kay with Rula no longer applies. I draw in a breath, trying to ignore the blinding agony that such a simple action causes, as I reach again for the knife there on the dank ground. It's so close, a hair's breadth away from my fingertips. All I need is to move a tiny bit more. But the pain of moving my arm is enough to make my body scream, and the coppery tang of blood fills my mouth. Another kick is all it's going to take for me to black out entirely, and I can't let that happen. I can't. I need to move. Move away from him. Protect myself, protect Kay. I can't let him get to Kay. I lift my head and see him lifting his foot, ready to strike me again, and I grit my teeth, bracing for more pain.
Tella?
Rula's voice cuts through the quiet.
Tella, what do you think you're doing?
Never did I think I'd feel genuine relief at the sound of Rula's voice. And yet there it is, accompanied by a hammering of footsteps. It takes me a moment to realize Tella is running away.
Rose? Fuck.
The woman's hands wrap around my middle, causing me to gasp as she guides me up to my feet.
I told you to go home. What the fuck happened?
I don't know. He wanted me to join him. Said I was on his side or against him.
Against him?
My head is swimming. Tella has gone. That's good, isn't it? It's gotta be, only... Kay! My voice cracks, causing a sharp pain to radiate all the way down my throat. If he goes for her, she won't stand a chance. I need to get to Kay.
I'll get you back to your sister, but I need you to tell me what Tella just said to you.
Rula insists. I shake my head, trying to move away from her, but my body's not working properly. The cracked ribs make even lifting my legs nothing short of agony.
Rose.
Rula presses again.
What did he say to you?
I shake my head. I need to get to Kay, but I can't do it on my own. And if Rula decides she's going to finish what Tella started, I won't stand a chance. Not in this state. He wasn't making sense. He was drunk, saying he was going up against you, saying I had to choose sides. I don't know. I just wanted to get away from him. Get to Kay. I need to... Kay! Panic races through me, intensifying the pain that seems intent on consuming every part of my body.
Okay. It's all right.
For once, Rula's voice matches the maternal image she tries to project.
You wait here. I'll get Jack to take you home. You're all right. You did well. You did well, girl.
Cold seeps into my bones as I lie prone on the ground. I don't know how long I'm left waiting there, shivering against the freezing temperatures and the pain that emanates from every part of my body, but at some point, I become vaguely aware of hands lifting me, holding me. I'm being led as I half walk and am half dragged through the alleys. Whether it's the cold or the pain, or the sheer exhaustion of the day, I don't know, but my eyes are struggling to stay open. Only when a familiar voice breaks through into my consciousness do I finally gain some agency.
Rosie?
I'm not sure if his voice is just in my head until he speaks again.
Rosie, what the fuck?
Reuben? I stumble forward, dropping myself directly into his arms, into his warmth.
What the hell happened? Don't ask me.
Jack's voice has a tremble of fear.
Rula just told me to get her back here.
Kay? I look up at Reuben. You need to get to Kay. You need to protect.
Kay's fine.
He tells me.
She went to bed a couple of hours ago. I've been out here since.
You've been... I don't even have the energy to finish my sentence, let alone thank him. Still, the way his eyes gleam down at me, he knows what I'm thinking.
It's fine. I don't feel the cold, remember? Let's get you inside. Get you cleaned up.
He moves toward the makeshift scrap of metal that makes up our door. Before he can open it, I reach out and grab him. The action is enough to cause me to release a silent scream of pain. No. I bite back the searing pain that pulses through my chest. Kate can't see me like this. I need her. What do I need? I need to be with her, to protect her from Tella, but also to protect her from seeing what life out here is really like. And that means not seeing me like this.
Jack, wait here.
Reuben's voice doesn't leave any room for negotiation.
Anyone comes within 50 feet of that door, you call for backup. You got it?
Jack bites down on his lip. Unlike Reuben, he doesn't have the advantage of staying warm out here. And given the grousing he gave about waiting for me in the freezing cold earlier, I expect him to object. But clearly Reuben's tone makes him think better.
You know the neighbors, right?
Reuben scoops me up in his arms, already making a beeline for their door. Yeah, but...
No buts on this one, Rosie. Either they see you like this, or Kay does. Got it?
Tears of pain trickle down my cheeks as he wraps his knuckles on Coram's door.
Remember,
he says, turning back to Jack as the door swings open.
50
feet.
A second later, he's carrying me inside and laying me down on Evelina and Coram's makeshift wooden bed, as they gasp in concern at the state of me. Chapter 12.
I don't know how many ribs you've broken, but I'd guess at least 4, maybe more.
Reuben says as he maneuvers my hand so that I'm holding the ice against my side. One thing about living in this temperature is that there's always plenty of ice on hand for when wounds need to be tended. I'm just not used to them being mine. We've been in here for close to 20 minutes now, of which I spent the first 15 apologizing to Evelina and Coram for disturbing them. Although, now that Reuben is using some of their cloth to clean up the blood on my face, I feel like I should apologize again.
So you want to tell me what you were doing to get beaten like this?
It's not the first time Reuben's asked, but it's the first time I felt like I can actually form an answer. Honestly, just trying to get home, I reply. Evelina boiled me a cup of nettle tea, which I've sipped slowly as it cools. I know there's no magic, or even medicinal herbs in it, beyond the nettle, but it goes a fair way to easing the tightness of my throat. Now, though, she retreats to the far corner of their shack, trying to give us some semblance of privacy, while Coram has gone outside to keep watch over Kay with Jack.
This happened coming home?
Reuben arches an eyebrow, clearly not quite believing my claim. I swear, I was on my way back home, and Tella caught me.
Tella?
Reuben's jaw locks.
You said it wasn't that bad. You told me you could handle him.
I thought I could, I reply, aware of the fury flashing in Reuben's eyes. In a moment of lapsed concentration, he pushes the fabric a little too hard against my skin, causing me to flinch. He winces in turn like he's the one in pain.
Sorry.
When he eventually talks again, his voice is lowered to a whisper.
You should have come to me.
I thought I could deal with it myself. Besides, we're just friends, remember?
Exactly.
He spits back through gritted teeth.
I look after my friends. I don't let things like this happen to them. Any of them.
Now you're starting to sound like Rula, I reply, huffing out a laugh, only to instantly regret the throbbing it causes across my sternum.
So Rula had something to do with this?
He asks, reaching out to stroke my bottom lip. The tenderness with which he touches me contrasts sharply with the manner in which Tella undertook the same action. If Rula hadn't turned up when she did? No, this had nothing to do with Rula, I tell Reuben truthfully. But I think she'll deal with him.
You think?
I can't cope with the interrogation now. What I need is sleep. It'll only be a few hours before I need to get up and take Kay to Rula, and there's no chance I can risk being late for that. Not after everything I did to make it happen. Nervous about what I'll find, I tentatively pull the ice away from my ribs and look down. It's not pretty. The bruises are already blossoming purple and spreading down to my stomach, which means I'm going to have to be pretty deft when I get dressed or wash myself for the next few weeks, or Kay is going to see the injuries. I need to search through my stores, see what I've got that'll help ease the bruising. How does my face look? I ask Reuben.
Other than startlingly beautiful?
He says. I let out a groan at his cheesiness, though the smile he gives me warms me far more than I expected.
You've got a split lip, and you're going to have a bruise here.
He gently brushes his finger across my forehead.
But other than that, you're good. I think your knees are pretty banged up, though. I mean, I'd be willing to go again like this afternoon, but you might want to wait a little.
A genuine laugh leaves my lungs, only to instantly turn into a coughing fit, which makes my ribcage burn in pain. When I finally catch my breath, I lift my gaze back to meet Reuben's. I guess I'll just have to tell Kay you and I had more fun than expected, I joke, flashing him a grin in the hope he'll reciprocate. But he doesn't.
Rose, you need to stay safe. Whatever you were doing tonight
was a one-time thing. I cut across him, placing my hand on his. And I wasn't lying. This didn't happen because of that. It was just me in the wrong place at the wrong time.
With guys like Tella, you don't get a right place or time,
he mutters, and I can't help but feel he's right. I lift my hand to his cheek and tilt his head upwards so that his eyes meet mine again. Thank you. Really, I say. For this, and for keeping an eye on Kay. You really are the best friend I've got out here,
Right.
he says softly.
Friend.
Ignoring the poorly hidden longing in his tone, I push myself onto my feet. I should get back, I say before glancing over at Evelina. I really am so sorry about all this, I tell her again. If you need any tonics for anything, just let me know. Don't worry, Rose. I'm sure you'd do the same for us, she replies. But if you can tell my husband to get back in here before he freezes to death, I'd appreciate it. Of course, I promise. Outside, both Jack and Coram are pacing up and down the alley. As much as I'd like to think it's because they're looking out for Tella, I'm aware that it's also the best way to make sure they don't freeze to death. Thank you so much. Now head home, I tell them both. It's fine, I can keep an eye on Kay now. Neither of them put up any form of objection, but Coram's the only one who bids me goodnight, though it should probably be good morning by now. I've no idea what the time is. As they both head their respective ways, Reuben moves closer to me.
Let me stay here tonight.
He says,
Sleep on the floor, just so I can make sure you and Kay are all right.
You don't need to do that, I tell him. I can barricade us from the inside. Tella won't be able to get at us once I'm in there. Promise. Rather than replying, Reuben bites down on the inside of his cheek before reaching out and taking my hand.
Please, Rosie. I would feel better knowing I was here with you.
And how would I explain that to Kay? You asleep on our floor. He shrugs slightly, and then lets out a sigh.
I don't know. Just maybe tell her you liked my company even more than you expected.
Another laugh leaves my lungs, but it stops almost as quickly as it started. It would complicate things, Reuben. I can't do complicated.
I know, me neither. I just want to make sure you're safe.
Don't worry, if he comes for me again, I'll be ready. And then, primarily because I need this conversation to be over, I momentarily ignore my broken ribs and reach up to kiss him on the cheek. As I clench against the pain, his hands are back on me. For a second, I think he's going to try again. Insist that it's best if he comes in, keeps me warm, and makes sure we're both okay. And even before he's spoken, I feel my resolve wavering, like I might just say yes if he does. After all, would one night of pretending really be that bad? But instead, he leans down and kisses me gently on top of the head.
I'll see you in the morning, Rosie.
He says,
Make sure you lock up well.
I will, I promise. I will. Inside our home, Kay's kept the fire burning. Her white hair is splayed out around her as she breathes softly in and out. I should take pride in how peacefully she sleeps. After all, if she knew the things I saw tonight, did tonight, I doubt she would ever sleep again. Rather than climbing into bed and risking oversleeping, I take a seat on the floor and replay the night over and over again. Dina's disappointment, Provik's death, Kay's safety. That's the one that matters. Kay's safety. I know it's secure for now, but things change. The only way she'll ever truly be safe is if I can get our magic back. But a Redderheld is the only way that can happen. And who even knows if one will happen in my lifetime, let alone soon enough to help us. Did you have a good time? My sister's voice pulls me from the unending cyclical thoughts I was trapped in. You're awake. I jolt upwards only for pain to spasm through my ribs. I am, she yawns as she rubs her eyes. And you were out very late with Reuben. So did you have fun? A bitter scoff catches in my throat. I'm not sure I'd say that. Her face falls, and I realize her perception of my night was very different from what actually happened. I shake my head, forcing a smile back onto my face. No, it was fun. And I've got news. Good news. Yeah? You've got a job. What? She rolls over, eyes wide and suddenly bereft of any hint of sleepiness. Are you serious? Deadly. Doing what? My smile widens, and this time, it's genuine. Teaching? Nannying, maybe? I'm not entirely sure, but it's in the 5th. Oh, gods! Rose! She jumps out of bed, and with a squeal throws her arms around me. It takes all my restraint not to yelp in pain. Shh! You'll wake Coram and Evelina. And they deserve all the sleep they can get after last night's disruption. Not that I'm going to tell her that. Despite my plea,
Kay can't stop giggling, and regardless of the pain I'm in, I feel my cheeks start to ache with a smile. "I have a job," she whispers in wonder, then repeats herself more loudly. "I have a job!" "You do. Now get dressed so you're not late for your first day." I never realized how much of a painkiller hope is, although it probably also helps that I swallowed back 2 vials of white willow bark tonic before we left. Either way, I move well enough that Kay doesn't seem to notice that anything's wrong, though maybe she's just distracted. By the time we reach the market, she's practically skipping. It wasn't something I realized people here could even do. "Teaching? I can't believe it! Oh, I can't wait to meet all the children!" She spins around and looks at me, grinning from ear to ear. "Now where did you say we need to go?" "To Rula," I tell her. "She'll take you to the house. Her stall's just up." I stop, unable to finish my sentence as I frown. The way to Rula's stall hasn't changed, but getting there is the issue as an entire blockade of people is barricading the way through. "What is it?" Kay asks. "What's going on?" "Just a body," someone casually answers in front of us. Just a body? That's what life's like here. Death's so commonplace. "Come on," I say, taking Kay's hand and squeezing tightly. As harsh as it might be, I can't let a dead body screw up my sister's chance of a job. Not after everything I've been through. Bracing myself against the agony that comes with jostling through the crowd, I drag myself between the hordes of people towards Rula's stall, only to stop a few feet away. From where I stand, the body is in clear view. Only it's not just a body I'm looking down on. It's the face of someone I knew. "Tella," I murmur aloud in disbelief. "Don't look, Kay." "Oh, gods! Poor Tella!" Kay squeals, turning her head away, but I can't draw my eyes from the single dagger that protrudes from his chest. The chest that last night I longed to put a blade through myself. And I would have, had I only got the chance. As I stand there in silence, a numbness taking hold, Rula sidles up beside me. "Always a shame, loss of life. But I'd say he had it coming. Wouldn't you?" Rula's voice is a low drawl. I don't respond. I already know she's capable of murder. But is she trying to tell me she did this? Do I want to know if she did? "Here," Rula says, tossing me 2 apples. "A promise is a promise, after all." I tuck the apples into my pockets. "Thanks," I mumble. I spot another figure on the other side of the body. Numbly, I walk over to him.
It's slum life.
Reuben says flatly.
Far less deserving people than him have suffered far worse fates.
He's right. Of course he is. Death is more common than a good meal in the slums. As I stand there, a haggard frame stumbles into the crowd, knocking several people into Tella's dead body. Reuben pulls me back, but as several hands reach out and grab the old man's arms, he lifts his head and his eyes meet mine.
"It's coming.
He slurs.
It's coming, my lady."
Goosebumps rise on the back of my neck. I don't need him to clarify what he's talking about. It's the same drunken spiel he gave before, about the Retterheld. Only this time, I don't scoff in response, because if there is a Retterheld coming, if there's even a slim chance of claiming a single wish from the goddess, one that would restore our powers and deliver vengeance upon the king and his son, then the gods know I will take it.